What's up? Welcome to Yo That's Weird with me, Sonia Z.
I absolutely like that opening.
Thank you. I think you are episode number 19, I believe. Yes.
Yeah.
Almost in our 20s.
All right. Start drinking another couple episodes.
Yes,
Legally.
legally for once.
Yeah.
Mark, this is I didn't even introduce you. This is Mark Ricadonna for anybody watching, listening. Hilarious human being, great dad, wife, I mean husband, he's a wife too.
I'm a wife too.
It's fine, no gender roles here.
Yeah. Anything goes.
Yes. um I Mark is the first person that put me up at a spot in New York. So I want to thank you for that now, all these years later. I think that was 2000 and maybe like 15.
Yeah.
And we had done a show at John and Peters in New Hope, right?
Yeah. What a good room.
Yeah,
I always
great.
have fun there. It's such a fun room. It's like
That's
everybody at John and Peters is just like down to like get weird and like, all right, don't do your act, whatever.
we like that.
Yeah. As comics, I mean, we really do. We love when it's like you go off script and you just kind of have a night of exploring and trying to figure stuff out, you know? I
Yeah, I
mean,
totally do. Yep, because especially with doing this now, I love stand up. It's fun. It's great, but like this is a whole different aspect to talking.
yeah, having a real conversation and not just like, okay, make me laugh now.
Yeah.
Make me laugh.
Yes, everything. Be funny, be funny, be funny.
I
Um
mean, did you ever feel this when you're on stage? Like you start like maybe you're doing your act, or maybe you just come out of the gate kind of slow and trying to be natural and talk to people, or like get to something and you can just feel it off the audience of them being like, okay, is this going to get funny now? Like there's a real like, and you can feel that coming off of them. Or like if you like, that's why I don't do crowd work a lot, is because I feel like when you talk to them, there's a vibe of them going, you know, I'm afraid you're going to make fun of me, so please like just move to the next person. And it's like they don't want to just like when you ask them like, hey man, is this your wife? And then they're like, yes. And like move on. And it's like I'm just trying to connect with you, man. Like I'm just trying to like kind of vibe with you and whatever, but now I'm getting your vibe and it's off. Like you don't want to talk.
Yeah, no, I will definitely say since COVID, especially with the rise of TikTok crowd work videos and people seeing
Oh,
now that that's something that happens,
yeah.
there's still the percentage of people showing up at shows that don't want to be spoken to or have to talk at all. They came to watch a show,
Yeah.
but then there's this like new level of fan who's always been on the border of, well, maybe they like wanted to try an open mic one time. And then when they get called, they're like, this is it. This is my chance. Like, it's my big break. Because,
This is where I'm
especially,
gonna.
well, I didn't mean to cut you off. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Oh no, I was gonna say this is where I shine.
Yeah, that's it's like I was born to do this. Or like a lot of times what I notice with some of people's crowd work clips, not all, some, it's the audience member being funny.
And well, that's I think personally, and I was a door guy at a comedy club before I was, I worked as a booker, and then I became a comedian, and I stopped doing that. And I've always found the people who really win at crowd work are usually the ones who let the crowd be funny.
Yeah, or like let them say something really stupid.
Yeah, and that gets the laugh.
Yeah.
You never want to be the one that makes the thing, because then it comes across as like Def Jam, where you're like, "Look at that stupid shirt! Oh,
Yeah. Like where you're
yeah,
just grasping for an insult
yeah." It
or
just trying to be mean, and it's like it doesn't really fly anymore. I don't think people like the the mean stuff. I mean, some people do. I
Some
shouldn't.
people do. That's what I was just gonna say. I see clips, and some people sitting in the crowd there, they love it because I think because they're not the one. They're next to them going, "Oh, it's not me
Yeah,
with my
not
stupid
me.
shirt on."
Yeah, I didn't get this at the stupid shirt factory. You did.
It's yeah.
I
So
did. I used to do a character in the early 2000s when I used to do these rooms on the Lower East Side where you would go in and you'd have to be a character. Like
okay,
you didn't really do your act.
okay,
There was all kinds of weird, fun games we used to do, and it was like it was fun. But I had a character, and he was the really bad crowd insult comic. He was the really bad insult comic. But his big claim to fame was he got kicked out of Reno. Like he's not allowed in Reno anymore. And I wore a really bad tuxedo, like with the ruffled shirt, and all the insults were like, "Hey, where'd you get that haircut? The bad haircut place? Oh, come on! Oh yeah!" Like, and it was just whatever was obvious, I would do, but then make it really horribly awkward and bad, but
yeah.
play it off like I just zinged them. So it was always, and then I would sing after. So after you do the insult, you got to do the "I'm Tony
Yeah.
aficionado."
Yeah.
Hey, come on! I got kicked out of Reno.
Classic character.
But now I think he would be huge
I
with all the
mean,
crowd work videos.
it's really interesting how it was this thing that was like only some people's skill or only certain rooms, and it was never really desirable so much. It was like not for the room, like not for the comic, for the room. The comic always wants to be able to free form talk to people and
Yeah,
make it seem effortless, but like the sometimes the club wants to put on a show, not just like
yeah,
somebody
yeah.
asking stupid questions. And
Well,
I don't know.
the other thing is like the people who are being talked to and the people who know the person being talked to and the people up front are all like, "Yeah, this is fun," but then the people in the back's like, "Who are they talking to? I
Yeah.
don't. What do you mean, stupid shirt? I don't see anybody with a stupid shirt."
It's true. 'Cause I actually have like pretty bad hearing and like across the room, and you barely hear them what they're saying to even if it's right in the front row, you can kind of hear because the comic on the mic says, oh
Yeah.
yeah, like they repeat, they tell, say again whatever the person said. But you're right, because even like I've seen comics just like take down like a heckler that yelled something stupid, and then in another breath, like out in the other room, someone would be like, oh, what happened in there? And you try to tell them, oh, didn't you hear that guy yell, blah blah blah, and they go, oh no, I didn't hear that at all. It
I've seen so many where the comic went way too aggressive on a heckler,
Oof.
way
Yeah.
too quickly at the top. And even if the heckler hit like a couple comics before him, like on a showcase style show, then
Yeah.
they come out and they're just like, "Hey, shut up, you stupid cunt!"
It,
And the crowd's just like,
yeah. Yeah.
and nobody. The rest of the show's like, I'm done.
I
Everybody checks out.
I've seen that happen infinite times, I think, by now. And physically uncomfortable for me to sit
I
there.
can't stand when it gets. I hate confrontation, which is so weird because we're comics.
I like it. I like being at like when Karens are being pieces of shit at the Target counter. I like to shut them down.
Good for you. I'm always like, let's just keep walking. Just keep walking. Pretend we don't see it.
If I'm right there, like some lady was given I like this little lunch place in Morrisville called Ben's Deli. That's Morrisville, Pennsylvania, for anybody that's listening. But it's just like a little, small family owned. You get lunch,
Mom and
whatever.
pop joint.
Yeah, they make breakfast all day, and everybody's real nice in there. And then like this lady was like, I don't know, argue. Like she said, the lady behind the counter went, "Are you together?" And the lady went, "Yeah, we're together." But I was standing to the one side waiting for my food, just looking at my phone. I wasn't with her.
Yeah.
That lady was talking about like her husband who was on the other side of the room. So then the counter lady started to ring up my food and this lady's food. And then that lady started freaking out and going, no, not that, not the, I think I got fried catfish or something. Not the fried catfish. And like the clerk was like, well, that's what I asked you. I said, are you together? And I go, what? I wasn't even listening. And then like the, the Karen looked at me and she was kind of like making a face because the lady behind the counter was going like, all right, just like relax, getting like not like being super customer servicey. And like I I just looked at the Karen and I went, look, I like this place for lunch. Don't be mean to the workers.
Yeah.
And
Don't get me
she
kicked out with you.
yeah, and she just went, and I was like, I don't know. Her husband came over and whatever, figured her life out for her, but they're
I
a
had
disease.
so today I went with my next door neighbor. I haven't seen him in a long time. Like I've been on the road and we have opposite schedules. He works when I'm home and when I'm home he works. We have kids the same age, so like we hang out a lot. So today he was like, "Let's go grab a bite to eat and then we'll go pick up Julia." And Julia is like his little one. So we went and we ate and then we're in line and like I think anybody out there who has kids that are in school and you have to do parent pickup will totally understand this. Like you try to not be aggressive because you all just have to do it. And like, what's the result if you're aggressive? You're one car space ahead, and it's still going to be 20 minutes of
Yep.
everybody in line going, "Look at this asshole! Like, look at what this asshole's doing." So like he pulled up and there was like a driveway to go to another parking lot. So he didn't block the box. He stayed back and was waiting for the cars to move forward so he would go forward in case someone needed to go to that back parking lot.
Hmm.
And this total Karen soccer mom had the stickers all over the back of the minivan, just cuts him off and pulls in and blocks the box. And there was obviously people waiting behind him. Like
Yes.
everyone had the unwritten rule, like we get what you're doing, you're
Yeah.
being a nice person. And she just totally pulled up.
Took that spot. Was like, well.
And he was like, I'm gonna say something. I'm like, don't say anything. Like, just let it go. Who cares? Like one person in front of us, who cares? And then of course I'm biting my tongue because she pulls up. All the doors on the thing open up, the back opens up, like 40 kids come out and getting in her thing, so it took forever. And I'm like, oh, you should have said something. We should have cut this bitch. We should have totally
Entitled.
been in front of her.
That's so funny because I just watched the movie Bill Burr made, Old Dads. Did you watch that yet?
Oh no, but I got to because
Oh,
I
it's
that
there. There's a good portion when you just said that about the picking up the kids at school. There's like a huge chunk of like the school interactions that are so
oh my
funny.
god.
Yeah.
It's I mean this movie sounds like it's probably my biopic. I just wasn't aware of it, but the one with Will Ferrell and Mark Wahlberg and their stepdad or whatever.
um.
Like Will Ferrell like married Mark Wahlberg's ex,
Oh
and
yeah, yeah.
yeah, I can't
I was
remember the
just
name. It's so good,
I
so
can.
good. And
I,
then they did a part two with John Lithgow and Mel Gibson, which is like
yes.
hysterical.
I know exactly what you're talking about. I'm looking it up for
Daddy's
you.
home,
Um,
something like that. But he,
the other guys? No, Daddy's
oh
Home. You're
yeah,
right. Daddy's
Daddy's
Home
home.
and
Yeah,
Daddy's Home too. Yeah.
there's a parent pickup scene, and Mark
Okay.
Wahlberg's like in his like Mustang, and he can't just stand sitting in line waiting. So he like peels out and pulls away. But it's like, it's so ridiculous because you're sitting there and if you do anything stupid, there's like
Everybody sees you.
200
Every
parents
other parent is sitting there
is
going,
going,
"What?"
what? Look at this asshole. There's a dude at the kid's school when I do the parent drop off. He quit doing it. I think somebody finally said something. But he'd pull up like everybody's in line and like a snake, like this
Yeah.
big ass long S, and then you get under the awning and that's where the kids can get out and they go into the school.
Hmm.
Well, this guy would just drive past the entire S and pull in front of everybody. And then
He's
not just like kick his kid out and take off because he's in a rush. He would like stop, get out, open her door for her, his daughter, get her out and like hug her and kiss her and like walk her over. And it's like, you just cut everybody and then you got out of your car. Unspoken rule, you don't
you
get out
don't
of the
get out of your
car.
car.
Yeah, it'll take 5 hours if we all get
If
out
everybody got
and
out and
kiss
gave a
our
big
kids
hug
goodbye.
and I love you. It's like he's like,
And he
hold
just
on.
cuts the line and pulls away like, I don't.
He's like, whatever, I'm
I'm
VIP,
way more
bitch. I
important.
don't
Yeah, I'm so much more important than you.
narcissist.
And his license
Crazy.
plate, I think it said Jesus on it, which is like,
Oh my
I don't think
God.
that's what Jesus would do. It's not
Oh.
what Jesus would do.
That's so funny. I have a joke I do about how drivers with coexist stickers don't know, don't they believe in all the religions cohabitating, but they don't believe in turn signals. It's like
It's a joke.
it's crazy.
Oh my
It's
God.
real though. It's like people,
It really is.
it's always the
There's,
Jesus fish sticker guy or whatever.
yeah, the one that's giving you the finger with the what would Jesus do?
That's my act. Oh my
That's
gosh.
hysterical.
This
Oh
is,
my God.
people are so self-centered and like
Oh,
I was watching a thing about a podcast about like there's this narcissist that's like a self-aware narcissist, the most like psychopathic kind that there is, grandiose,
yeah.
whatever. And he goes through all the different kinds of people there are, and he goes, there's
They mostly work on Wall Street.
yeah, that's true. Finance is huge. I used to deal with mortgage brokers at my old job. They're all crazy like that. Because you have to be cold-blooded to work in that
They
kind of
know that
industry.
you're doing that.
Yes,
Like you have to be totally okay with it.
you're like, no, we're gonna make 700,000 people lose their jobs because we want to short this stock and close this business. Who cares? Makes me
But
richer.
I'm gonna get jet skis this
Yeah,
summer.
we're all getting jet skis. Everybody.
So yeah, the wife who hates me, the we're all getting jet
We're all
skis.
going out. We're all ripping them.
My
Uh,
wife, my girlfriend.
yeah.
my,
It's just like, yeah, I don't know. They're everywhere. They're in all
yeah.
parts of society.
So
And
I'm sorry I cut you off to try to
no, it was that
a
was
Wall Street
funny. That
joke.
was funny and true. But it was just that there's okay. So there's like narcissistic people, which can include the narcissistic personality disorder people, but then there's just people that are narcissistic. They're two different things. So the term
Uh,
narcissist gets thrown around a lot lately, and there's like normal. He said there's normals, there's empaths, and then there's narcissistic people, which includes the narcissistic personality disorder. So
wow.
when we see
That's
people out, yeah, doing like the Karen type behaviors, it's
it's
narcissistic
because
people.
now does this make me a narcissist that when I'm in different parts of the country and somebody does something to me, like a traffic violation that's like one of the unspoken rules, like
Sure.
driving on the median to pass
Oh
people.
yeah, yeah, the shoulder or something.
Depending on where I am in the country, I have to make fun of that person in their own regional way. Oh, yeah, of course. The Long Island asshole thinks the world revolves around Long Island. And then I'll be down south. I'm like, look at this fucking hillbilly. Yeah, I just pinpoint whatever that regionalism is because whatever I am is perfect. Whatever I do.
No, you're well, we could call you a self-aware narcissist, but no, I think all anybody in the entertainment industry has a healthy level of narcissism. You have
Yeah.
to be self-aware, to be able to face rejection that we face, to get up and even do stand up takes a healthy amount of it because you got to be like, oh, I'm good enough to get up and do this.
Isn't that the world's biggest fear is public speaking? And
Yes.
we go against the biggest fear out there to go, no, I'll make you like me.
Yeah.
You'll like
Not
trust
only
me.
am I going to get up and talk to you, a stranger, and command your attention and make you listen to me, I'm going to make you laugh too.
You're gonna laugh, and at the end of the night, you're gonna want to follow me on social media. You're gonna want to be part of my world. That's how good I am.
Yeah.
So we do have that.
Yeah.
I hate the really. There's two things that I hate in our business that have to do with this. One is the fake humble narcissist,
Hmm.
where they're like humble brag something like, I didn't have the set I wanted at Montreal this year, but blah blah blah. And you're
Yeah.
like, there's no reason if you actually didn't like your set, you probably just wouldn't say anything. Like,
Yeah.
so why are you saying this?
Yeah.
Like,
Uh, covert narcissism.
yeah, it's like I'm trying to let you know I'm important by pretending I'm not. Like, I really
Bragging.
want
Yeah.
you to. I'm so proud of anything I get. Like I'm so proud because I worked hard for it, and I'm like, I'm gonna yell it at the top of a mountain how proud I am of it. But I
Yeah.
also have a weird expectation. Then my number one thing I'm most proud of is that I make a living doing it. Like not that I'm this guy, that it's like, hey, I haven't had a real job. This is that's the most proud I am of anything I've accomplished in this
Yeah.
business. And
Totally.
it's like, but it's still that thing where I see the guy like really humble brag something where it's like, and and I also hate the false intellectualism of like the big dumb regular guy, but I'm actually really intelligent. And those guys are usually the guys who quote Joe Rogan a lot.
I actually consider myself the female Joe Rogan, but
But it's that thing where they like all these guys. If Joe Rogan tells you to take your medicine, you'll take it. But if anybody else does it, they're like, "Oh, what's that fucking nerd doctor gonna tell me?" But then they're like, "I heard on Rogan that if you take this medicine, it's really good for you."
Yeah. Well,
It's like,
comedians are modern day philosophers. So, you know, just the fan base is going to be gravitate towards the person that is doing the selling,
yeah, that's totally true.
you
I just
know?
think it's so funny that he's so quoted now, and then
He's
people. It's like everything about what he does. They're just like, So I was listening to Rogan, and you know, I don't like to form my own opinion. So Joe Rogan told me to say this.
this message has been approved by Joe Rogan, actually.
He would probably like that because yeah, you know what? Everybody loves me. I mean,
Yeah.
he's awesome at what he does. I just think it's so funny that all these like guys who would just sit at a bar and watch UFC are now trying to be philosophers.
Yeah. And have like, oh, well, I take, what's the supplements? Like,
Yeah, I'm taking my brain,
yeah.
whatever the
No, I was dating a guy and he was like, "Oh, I take this." I was like, "Oh
I
no."
take I take alpha male brain
Yeah, that's what
stimulant
it's called,
pill.
alpha brain. Alpha brain.
Alpha brain.
That's what it's called.
And that became a thing. Whenever Joe Rogan talks about something, you see a wave of it go through people where it's like I've always loved Richard Jenny. And then like I just remember sitting in a green room and all of a sudden like 50 people were just talking about Richard Jenny.
Mm.
And I started asking like what just happened? Like even when Richard Jenny was alive, like I got to work with him a bunch and I thought he was like the greatest comedian ever. And even when he was alive, like not that many people talked about him. Then all of a sudden everybody's talking about Richard Jenny. What's going on? Then I found out Joe Rogan talked about Richard Jenny. And
Hmm.
it was like so every comedian was talking about Richard Jenny.
Yeah.
It's like it's kind of cool because he can make a change the way people think or talk about things that might be important that should get out there. I just wish he would start like maybe making hygiene cool or
Well, that's where I come in. The next
I love his
generation.
podcast. It's a great podcast. I get why people listen to it, you
Thank
know.
you. No, I like Joe. I like Rogan when he has on someone I know, or like Andrew Huberman is on there a lot. He's like a doctor or whatever the hell he is. I don't know, some kind of scientist. He's very informative. I'm not like a religious listener, but it's one of the few I do put on sometimes,
Yeah.
especially in long car rides. And I think it's interesting because Joe is. I saw now you said like it's funny because like he brings something up and it gets like the Rogan bump of like everybody
Yeah.
starts talking about it, whether it's a comedian, a new comedian, or whatever. And then so he was coming up now. There's like all these Joe Rogan things like coming up now. It's happening to him. Where I saw on TikTok like he is actually in the New York boobs sketch with Dave Chappelle, and I never realized it. He's like holding the cardboard box of like random, gifts or whatever they give away to the people as they're in Times Square. And it's like young Dave Chappelle and young ass Joe Rogan standing there. And it's so crazy. And like, but I feel like it's happening to him now. What you're saying he does is like he's done it for so long. He's finally hit the spot where it's like people that are younger are going, "Who's this like Joe Rogan guy? Why are old men
Yeah.
always talking about him?" Like,
But it's, I mean, it's kind of cool that like he's a like, everybody online says they're social influencers. Like he's like a real influencer. Like if he really started plugging an idea or a trend, he got men to go out and buy fanny packs. Like, Joe, you're cool and you can kick my ass and everything. I'm not buying a fanny pack, but a lot of people went out and did it.
I mean, it's like that now. It's like, do you wonder, like, is he what level of narcissism where you can just be like, I think fanny packs are great, and then everyone's like,
Let's see how
okay.
many people I can get to buy fanny packs. Saying I heard on Rogan is the new. So I read this article in the Times.
Okay. Oh, yeah, that's fair. That's fair.
Like in the 80s and
Hmm.
90s, people would go, "Oh, I was reading the Times and I read that,"
Yeah.
and they formed somebody's opinion.
Yeah.
And now it's like I was listening to Rogan, and then they have their opinion. It's the new version of that.
You're totally right. He is basically like a source of news for people, for a lot of people, I
Yeah,
think. Um,
definitely. That's definitely.
yeah.
I know people that probably have never read the New York Times once. They can quote 10 million things Joe Rogan said.
Yeah.
And it's like, but they have the same conviction as the person who watched news every day and read 5 newspapers every day. Like they have the same conviction of like,
They're like, this
no,
is
I did my
facts. This is,
research.
yeah, I've read up on this topic.
But I mean, that's kind of what's awesome about podcasting is that it's like we're going backwards, which I think is important because it was like all this stuff started happening where it was like, blogs, and then it started going further, and then social media started going like, no, and now you'll make videos and now you'll do this. But we went back to radio. It's really radio.
It's
And
so
that's kind of like we're gonna start doing the Morse code soon. Like it'll be old
beep, beep, beep,
clickers.
beep, beep.
I mean, we're already texting instead of making phone calls. It's just a way of going back in time.
Yeah, it's very funny you said that because since I started this, I've had a few different people say that I have a voice for radio.
Nice.
And I mean, yeah. And I'm like, well, I think that's true. And I do actually I do these weird uh phone call like prank. Do you remember what was it called? War of the Roses?
Yeah, I used to do
You
those.
used to do them, or they're doing them again. They just call them something different
Yeah,
and
it's
they're still on.
I yeah, and you all those things you hear in morning radio are just made up.
It's me. It's me. Yell. I got to yell at some guy and like tell him to fuck off the other day. It's
We
so
used to. So this is how old I am.
yeah.
I When I did those, we had to go to a building in New York City and do
Oh,
them
okay. Go to
from their
the
offices.
studio.
And then they really broke out and they would let you use your home phone as long as it was a landline, no cell phones.
Okay.
You weren't allowed to use cell phones. And now it's like, good luck finding a landline. Like,
Yeah, they're like no. Then they tell you like don't use just use your cell phone. Just call us. We want it to sound like a phone call. And it's so funny that to
it's
me,
going back in time.
it's so
We're all
funny that
going back.
yeah that people are still like, oh, this is a real phone call. This is like drama on the radio. Like
I have a crate of vinyl. Like, I have a whole shelving unit right over here of
yeah.
vinyl. Like, and that's my kids know that's how they get their music. Is the same way my grandfather showed my dad.
Yeah.
We went back and putting on records. What do you guys want to listen to? Okay. Like, we don't do the digital music. We don't do like we're vinyl. If we're in
Yeah.
the car, we listen to the radio or to the phones plugged in for my audiobooks.
Yeah.
Nerd.
That's okay. I think it's funny that the younger generations are like finding all those things that um like I had a friend who was having a younger friend who was having went to another friend's like 2000s themed party and they wanted a CD player.
Guess you got a couple Walkmans we could borrow.
So I let my grandma had a little like portable CD player.
We're gonna listen to CDs tonight.
That's what it was. It was the party.
That's
And I'm like, actually, I don't know.
funny.
It's kind of fun. Yeah, you're
I
forced
would
to
go
listen
to
to
it.
each song.
Yeah. Oh my God, you have to listen to the whole thing.
Yeah, if you don't have one that skips it to the next track.
Yeah. Oh, that's so. It's funny we're talking about this because this morning I was on our podcast that I do with Richie Byrne, and we
Okay.
had this guy on. It's called Drinks, Jokes, and Storytelling. And we are talking about how do you remember? I'm older than you, but I was telling them, like, do you guys remember there was a time in the early 2000s that rock and roll kind of went away. It was going away. It was like the Oasis was fading out, and all these like 90s rock bands started fading away, and it was like mostly hip hop or like boy bands or R&B, and it was like rock and roll's going away, and the new generation, they're never going to learn to play instruments because they can do it all on computers now. But
uh,
now, like now that I have little kids, like we'll be on YouTube and there's like, hey, look at this 8-year-old boy can play Eddie Van Halen's all of his, play all of his guitar solos. Look at these 10-year-old kids. They just started a Led Zeppelin cover band. It's like all these young kids playing music from the 70s and 80s. And it's like, what the hell happened? Like, and then you realize it's all cyclical. Everything's a cycle. It just, whatever. Like, even as fashion is the obvious one,
oh yeah,
you know.
especially like women my age that have like middle schoolers, like 12-year-olds, 13-year-olds. They're wearing the stuff we wore at 12 and 13.
Yeah.
And they
It's
like freak out about it. They're like, "Oh my god, why is this back? Why are these pants? Why is this hideous?"
these
um,
stupid outfits
yeah.
cool. I mean, I think it's cool because like all the kids at my kids' schools are wearing like rock shirts and hoodies, and I'm like, all right, like I'm the coolest dad around. Like, I haven't changed since then, but
Yeah.
it's like that's all the boys wear, are
uh,
like
yeah.
print shirts with a rock band on it and like a hoodie, and like they're wearing baggy pants again, regular size pants. The skinny jeans thing that didn't work for me because I'm fat. Every pair of pants are skinny jeans. It's like when your waist is, when you're busting out like some 38s on the waist, then there's
It's
no,
not
it's not skinny.
the
It's not
hip to
skinny.
ankle ratio is not pleasant.
Yeah. Yeah. The waist and the length are the same. It's not skinny pants.
Yeah,
They're
no.
not, yeah.
It's
Just,
you got to know your limits. That's fine.
yeah. And I get it when some people do like stuff and they wear the tight clothes or they whatever. It's brave. It's not brave when I do it. It's disgusting.
We don't allow fat shaming here, Mark. You're big and beautiful.
I'm fat self shaming.
It doesn't it still counts.
And it's more because of the comfort than the look.
No, I
I don't
know.
care what I look like. I
Trust
just can't
me. I
stand
know.
tight clothes.
There's days, yeah. I mean, being a woman is a whole other story, but
I can't. The pressure is insane. I think for women compared to guys.
yeah.
The pressure of like I mean, guys have their problems. I'm not like at all trying to be like Mr. Nice Guy.
Yeah.
Guys have their problems too. I mean, like how often if you have any kind of sensitivity or any kind of empathy for other people, you will be made fun of.
Oh
Like if
yeah.
you feel bad for something, you will be made fun of.
Yeah.
And so like guys have their crap, but girls have it where it's like you just if a fat guy walks into a party, nobody blinks an eye.
No.
If a big girl walks into a party, there's going to be somebody's going to say something or make fun of her outfit or do whatever. Like it's
It's
bullying's real. Like,
it's still there. I actually get bullied by younger comics all the time.
are you serious?
Yeah.
That's all you have to do is watch their acts.
Yeah,
If it,
that's, I
then you
mean,
feel better immediately.
yeah, I don't feel the need to retaliate because they're making their own
Oh my
bed.
God. I see these guys online that have like there's this there's a group and it's called like bad comedy posters or
Oh,
something.
I've seen that. I've seen that
And
one.
it's like and I thought like, oh, this would be good. I should see what people like and don't
That's
like.
what, yeah. Mhm.
And then all of it is let's make fun of who's on the poster.
Yeah, it transformed into that. I've actually been a part of one of those pages for years on Facebook, I think. And it's like, at first it was like, I actually look in there sometimes when I'm trying to make my own flyers. Like, what do people hate on? You know, what do they
Yeah.
not like, to get ideas, and like, so that's been helpful. But yeah, they're just like, I've seen so many people I know get roasted in there. And it's like, well, they didn't pick the flyer. Some graphic
Yes.
designer or the comic whose show it is just hand making a flyer that isn't necessarily a digital artist.
Yeah. I to me it's like I've been on there and they made fun of people and it's like it'll be some comic in Nowheresville
Alabama or
making
whatever.
fun of a comic who's actually working
Yeah.
and they're like making fun of him like look at this guy, can you believe he, and I just like, are you mad you're not on the show? Is that what this is?
Yeah.
Like that's what it feels like almost 99% of the things that are said on that page.
Yeah.
It feels like you're just mad because you're not on the show.
Yeah.
And like one time I was a show that I was on and it was an ugly flyer. It was a very ugly flyer. But it was at a really high end cool place. It was like this beautiful theater up in Boston and they did like it was like a 5 course meal and it was like this whole thing and then they had a show after and the tickets were like $50, which is pretty cheap for a 5 course meal.
Yeah.
Don't even include the comedy on that. That's a cheap meal. You can't go to a restaurant and get that.
I know.
And then it's like a dude on there bitching, $50. Who would pay that for this shit? And I'm like, yeah, like, have you ever eaten anywhere other than Burger King?
Yeah,
Like,
I've gone bankrupt at movies. Hold on, hold that thought. We're about to run out of time in this segment, okay? As soon as it
yeah,
ends, we're just gonna click right back into the same link and
same
we'll
like,
just pick back up, get
cool.
back into it, okay?
Yeah.
I'll see you in a minute. All right. Um, so we were talking about
The online bullying factor.
oh yeah, it's a I mean, like, I've online bullied people, but only usually comics that go in the Philly Comedy Network page on Facebook and say dumb shit. And most of the time, they're people that are under 5 years in.
Yeah.
And I,
There's an arrogance of young comics, and that's not saying anything about a generation. It was the same when I was a young comic. But there's
yeah,
like an arrogance that's like, I know everything, and then you walk in and you realize like, oh, there were people here before me.
yes, like
Maybe I should.
long before me, especially with COVID. COVID was the weirdest thing, right, Mark? Because you were doing it before, obviously.
Yeah,
And then, so we went through this period in Philly where there was, from having legitimately 2 to 3 mics that you could go to a week per night,
yeah,
and then showcases on like Friday, Saturday, whatever, for the weekends that you could pick up and hit, literally from having that to after COVID, myself and a few other people ran the only mic in the city until mid 2021 because of lockdowns. There was no other places. Our owners just crazy enough at Raven Lounge to bring the mic back. Okay.
I love it.
We were secretly out there at the end of 2020 when we weren't even really supposed to be. We were outdoors. We were outdoors for most of 2020 after August. And then in the fall, in the winter, when they were like, okay, lock down again because it's fall and it's going to be cold and flu and COVID season, they were like, nothing until next year. But they were secretly doing like basement mic. Um,
Yeah, that's cool.
so
That's a
and like, so we watched all these younger comics like be born into the scene, 50, probably 50 of them in one year or something,
yeah,
and they had a huge advantage over some people who had never been on stage before, that and then they also had some kind of weird advantage over people who were out here because they were new faces on the scene. but like
Yeah.
a lot of the old people hadn't shown back up yet. They were still like scared of the
Yeah.
virus or whatever and weren't coming to Mike's. So it was the few people who had been there all along sprinkled in, and then all these newer people. And I see the arrogance in people that it does happen in every like young, and you could be any age and be a young comic. You could be
Yeah.
75 and
Yeah.
be
It
a,
just means new.
yes. And,
Yeah.
but like,
Young and show age.
yeah. So, there's like, I don't know, you have, the people that, like you said, they have the arrogance because there's people who were here before that know, well, I've done all of this for so long and I'm here.
Yeah.
Do you think you're here now? Like suddenly, and maybe you are, and that's okay. Like, but there's going to be some, superstars in every industry that come out of nowhere, and after 2 years of doing something,
Yeah.
they are virtuosos of whatever it is.
Yeah. But
Uh,
most people are 10,000 hours.
yeah, and then now
There's a Dave Chappelle every once in a while, but there's more 10,000 hour people.
yeah, and even Chappelle like, put in his time. He just
Yeah.
like got recognized at a very young age,
Yeah.
and like,
Yeah, it's not that he didn't. Yeah,
yeah,
it's not that he didn't deserve it, but when he was very young, people took notice because he was very exceptional. Him and
yes,
Eddie Murphy are probably the two fastest to success and stayed stories. There's a lot of people who get it and then they lose it
oh
before they
yeah,
knew they had it.
sure, for sure.
There's a lot of those people.
Yeah. And I think, you know what, maybe those people deep down at the core, I like to unpack things here, and not always be super funny, but I think maybe deep down some of those are the people that jump in those Facebook Philly comedy networks and go, oh, I had to wait till 1:45 in the morning to go up. I was there all night. Like, okay, I did too when I first started.
Yeah,
Uh
it's called being the newbie. Like
yeah.
that's how it happens.
And like even like, I didn't I didn't think I was like deserving to be anywhere else at the time. I
Yeah,
just like I was so scared to even go up. But I think the people that come in with the arrogance might end up those people that if they get some kind of meteoric rise, then they fall because it was all based on like this illusion of self, not an actual
yeah,
being, you know?
yeah. Well, you get those kind of people, and you're like, okay, then go in Middle America and do an hour.
Mm-hmm.
Like, go for it. Well, I don't have an hour. And then they get up in front of an audience that doesn't care about their Philly centric act or
Yeah.
their, let's talk about Sixth Street.
Yeah.
Like people in Milwaukee don't give a fuck about Sixth Street.
Yeah. No.
you know,
No.
that, and so there's just, and so then on the Zoom side, there was availability to be a comedian
Yeah.
because all you had to do is go on Zoom.
Yeah.
You didn't have to work for it. You just
Like,
signed up to be on an open mic online. You got on. Nobody killed because it's Zoom. And so they'd go on, and then, like, after the show was over and you'd do the Brady Bunch boxes and all the comics talk shop, they would think they were one of the gang. And so then when the stuff started lifting and gigs started happening, there was all these comedy festivals opening up everywhere. And then they wouldn't get accepted to a comedy festival and they would bitch. And you're like, I how many times have you been on a stage in front of an audience doing stand up? How many?
yeah.
Never? There's a reason they don't want you to come to Atlanta to do a comedy festival. There's a reason. And they don't get it. They're like, oh, I worked so hard and they're just trying to keep me out. It's like, no, everybody, I was 18 years in until I did Montreal.
Sure.
And and it's not for a lack of trying. It's not for a
No,
lack of wanting.
that's an average. I think it's between 15 to 20 years is when people get on there most of the time.
Yeah, you're supposed to. It says new faces, but
But
it's new faces to the festival,
it's new
not new.
faces that are about to be on TV that the regular people who aren't comedy fans know about now.
Yeah, but like these people that were
Excuse me.
bitching, and I remember seeing it on Facebook, like people who started during Zoom complaining about not getting stage time, and it's like I know I can tell you right now, Richie Byrne, who I do my podcast with,
Mhm.
is 30 years in the business. He did warm up for Rachel Ray, Dr. Oz. The guy's bought a home off of comedy. He doesn't have gigs right now.
Yeah.
And it's just a cycle. It's how it works. I'm
Yeah.
on a high right now. I've been working a lot, but I know it's coming.
I mean,
I know it's coming. I'm
good
going to get my ass kicked in a minute.
good for you that you're on the up right now. I mean,
Uh, I'm squirreling money away. Like
hey.
whenever I get my checks in the mail, it's like I'm not like celebrating. Like, oh wow, I'm making some money right now. It's like I'm stashing it away because whatever, come March, April, and May, I might not work. It could happen. You never know when it's going to happen, and all of a sudden, three cancellations call, or
Mhm.
one guy cancels all your bookings, and you're like, that was like 5 dates.
Sure.
And next thing you know, you're like, I'm glad I saved that money
Yeah.
because I don't know how I'm going to pay my mortgage.
Yeah. And that's
So
a
it's
very,
like,
yeah, very real
it,
perspective.
but there's like, legit comics that aren't working and who aren't getting in festivals and who aren't, but have been,
On JFL or whatever.
yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, like guys who I know that are on the Tonight Show. They're on the Tonight Show and they're going, I don't have any work. November sucks. I have no work. And it's like, it's just, it would be amazing if you could just keep it steady and you knew your whole year was going to be here. But
Sure.
it's like in reality, you're going to be here, then here, then here, then here, then you might be here for a little bit, then you're here, then you're here. And the trick is just at the end of the year to hope you made enough money and didn't use your credit card enough that you somehow stayed even or above.
Yeah.
Like if that happens, you had a great year.
I mean, like I always quote this Dalai Lama quote that I read on like a quote a day calendar somebody gave me a million years ago at my old desk job that was like Dalai Lama says if you can pursue a career that gives you outlet for your creativity or more time with your family or more, time for your spiritual work, whatever it is, even if it's less money, it's more fulfilling to your soul.
So right.
Money doesn't fulfill your soul. Money just gives you creature comforts. You can buy the nicest things and have those jet skis that the narcissists
Yeah.
get. That was a callback for anyone that was listening. But they don't have fulfilling, warm lives with families that always cared. They're the people that like you see on, like family that like you succession type family.
Yeah.
Like
Well, and in our business, those people are the ones who have the insanely hacky premises because they have no lives.
mhm,
So they're doing the same hacky premises that you've heard 1,000 comics do
yeah,
because they can't draw from anything else.
it's not real.
Yeah. So it's like they're just pursuing, like, I have to be a comedian 24 hours a day. And
Yeah,
that's all I do is comedy, comedy, comedy. And it's grind and grind and grind. And it's like you have no life
yeah,
and your act shows it.
yeah,
And it's like you want to tell those people, and so there's some of them that are in my mind right now that we're talking about this are way more successful than me. They're killing it. The
sure.
industry knows them, more fans, they're making more money. They're whatever you measure success in that world,
Mhm.
they're blowing me out of the water. But god damn, they must be lonely and boring the rest of the day because there's nothing to them. And it's like even when I bitch about my kids and I'm like bitching that I got to do something that I don't want to do, or I turn down work because it's like I'm happy to do it, but there's part of me in the back of my head like where I'll say no to a gig because I know my son has a winter concert that weekend, so I'm not going to take a gig. I want to see my kid in his little concert thing,
Yeah,
and I'll say no to like a week somewhere. And there's a second that I'm upset about it and I'm mad because I'm like, I need to go out and get this gig and I need to work and how are we going to pay the bills? But then there immediately is taken over with, yeah, but I'm never going to see this kid's concert in fifth grade again.
yeah,
I can make his sixth grade one, but then what do I compare it to? and I have to wait a year. So it's like a lot of artists don't balance their lives. They only go after their art because they think they have to suffer. You
Yes.
don't have to suffer. You're allowed to enjoy your life and be a good artist.
Yeah. I
Yeah,
totally agree. And some people they make themselves suffer because they're suffering for the money part of it, I think sometimes.
yeah. I think
It's
a lot of them suffer for the accolades of like,
sure, fame, the
look what I'm
fame,
doing.
yeah, like attention.
I could have that, but I don't because I'm pursuing this so hard. And it's like, you can have both.
Yeah. You can. And I think like fame doesn't change everyone. If you
Yeah,
like become if you're a normal person and you just come like end up doing what you love and you have fans that support you and fund you for that and like you become a known person as long as you are a real person inside, like not one
yeah,
of those people that just steals premises or uses overused ideas as
yeah.
jokes that you've heard it 17 different ways.
Yeah. Well, there's something too. Like you think of somebody like, I mean, I'm obsessed with Eddie Murphy. I love Eddie Murphy.
Okay.
Eddie Murphy and Rodney Dangerfield
Okay, what's
are.
your top 10? What's your top 10? Mine fluctuates, but it's pretty solid.
Mm, yeah, this will be tough. Number one's Dangerfield. Number two
Okay.
will go Eddie Murphy.
Okay.
Um, oh boy, let's see. So out of the, I'm going to name off a bunch of people who aren't like famous. So if you're listening and you don't know who this person is, you should seriously look them up because they're uh, really amazing comics. I want to go with Richard Jenny,
Okay.
Paul Provenza. I want to go Rick Overton. Um, who else's stuff do I just love watching? It's so hard because I really love comedy.
I
Like
know. I have like mine will fluctuate. The 10th on mine will like go back and forth sometimes.
back and forth content.
I feel like I
Okay,
have a
wait.
top
I gave you
20.
six.
You gave
I
me
gave you
six.
six.
Yeah.
Now you give me six.
Okay. Attell, Chappelle, CK, Nick Swartzen, um,
You named so many good ones.
um, uh, uh, Dan Soder,
Wait, you gave me five. So wait,
I know
I will.
one more. Hold on, I'm trying to think out of the remaining five that I usually go to. It's like a tie in my head between like Dangerfield, um, um, I don't know. I have like it's like the weirdest between like Dangerfield and Ellen DeGeneres.
I love it.
Because she was when I was younger, she was like on
Yeah,
Comedy Central doing the half hour and stuff, and she was all just like young, like, and I was like, oh,
yeah,
okay, she's like gay and stuff. That's cool, whatever. And like, she's funny. She's her jokes are
yeah.
not just about like being. She didn't have a single gay joke really.
I was gonna say, I don't think she really
She didn't come
anybody
out
knew
even
until she
now,
came
like you
out
know
on
what I
this
mean? Yeah.
show.
But her latest hour was like very funny. The special she did on Netflix, and like it wasn't. She'll just say like my wife, like sometimes.
Just like a guy would say, my wife.
Yeah.
It's like that's
So
I always Jim David was a guy who I just adored because everyone knew he was gay. Nobody was
yeah,
questioning or like shocked when
yeah,
if he told you during his act. I mean, during the he came out on stage like he was the first out man on Comedy Central.
okay,
He came out, but like it was never where it had to be like in your face about it. It was just funny relationship, funny
yeah.
about life. It was funny. It wasn't like he didn't have to everything go. So as a gay comedian,
Eh,
and it was like, no, we got it, and we like everybody liked you, and it's
yeah,
cool. You
yeah.
can just say, you ever notice in relationships, and it's the same
It's
as
the
if it's
same
with a girl
dynamic.
or a
Yeah.
guy. It's
Hmm.
it's just funny.
Yeah.
He did have the one bit where he talked about his dad asking him after his one man show. He like did more stuff about his where he was out, and he talked about how his dad would constantly ask him questions about It's so goddamn funny. What is
No.
it that you and your husband do?
No, I never heard that, but it's funny.
He goes, you know, all those things you beg mom to do and she won't? We do that.
That's a good one.
So good.
That's good.
So
I
good.
mean, it's
I
you know,
You know Robin Harris?
I
You
know
know
that
Robin Harris?
name. What
He
but
was so like the kings of comedy are all children of his. Do
okay.
you remember? Everyone knows him through, but do yourself a favor and get the HBO One Night Stand. It's on YouTube. You can find it. One Night Stand. Robin Harris, Hep Yourself is the name of his special.
Okay.
He was Bebe's kids. That
Oh,
was
oh,
it.
okay. Okay.
And
All right.
if you hear the actual bit about Bebe's kids,
Okay.
and then you remember the cartoon, you're gonna go, "How did they do that as a cartoon?"
The
Like
cartoon I
that is
definitely liked as a kid, and I always liked fucked up stuff as a kid. So like I get it. I was
I love.
actually I'm mad because like my top 10 I didn't get to Carlin in there because I would actually
Oh,
watch like
good. So
Carl I would
I
watch him on HBO like at his specials. I'm
love
like 9 years old or whatever. You know what I mean? Like as it's premiering.
something I really loved about Carlin, and it's I mean, obviously there's a million things I like about Carlin, but the thing that really made me like love his stuff is you never knew what was coming because he would do like the hippy dippy weatherman, jumbo shrimp, and then all of a sudden he's talking about how there's no God and they should take away cemeteries and golf courses. And like
Yeah.
it's like all of a sudden he's doing this philosophy,
Hmm.
but like he's also doing silly fun stuff. So
Yeah.
at some point you just go like, oh, you can do whatever you want on stage.
Yeah.
You don't have to. It's like when I was young, like high school and even I think it was junior high, I found a Bill Hicks cassette tape
Mm.
and it was live from Pittsburgh.
That was your finding porn in the woods.
Yeah. And I had this little cassette tape, and it's live Bill Hicks live in Pittsburgh. It was written in marker, it was like a bootleg tape.
Sure.
I thought he was just some local guy. I didn't think,
Yeah.
oh, this is like a nationally touring comedian.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, this is like a dude from Pittsburgh because I grew up in Youngstown, Ohio, which is like an hour away from Pittsburgh. So I'm like listening to it, I'm like, this is so amazing. This is so amazing. But everything Bill Hicks did really had drove a message. It was less silly, it was more like it had to made you change the way you think. And I loved it. Loved it, loved it, loved it. And then somebody introduced me to Doug Stanhope, and this was like a young Doug Stanhope, where it was like all this dark philosophy. And I was just like, oh my God, comedians are like a different thing than anything I've ever experienced. And then I was watching like Carlin because then I loved like Dangerfield and I loved like Eddie Murphy, which is
Hmm.
all silly. They're
Yeah.
cartoons.
Yeah.
Then you watch Carlin and it was like he did everything. Like he wasn't just doing the Robin Williams, I'm doing a crazy character and here we go.
Mhm.
It was like he also had these like philosophies and these rules to life that and my brother and I used to like, we're like, dude, is it kind of weird that like the way people think about religion, we have comedians are the people we listen to instead of like religious characters? And we loved it. And I remember some of my first memories was watching the Tonight Show with my grandmother or my aunt, and
Yeah.
I would fake sick so I didn't have to go to bed. And they would let me sit on the couch with them. And I remember just head in their lap and they'd be rubbing my hair
Okay.
and we'd watch Johnny Carson.
We were actually allowed to be up late and watch Johnny Carson with like my grandma up in the TV room. We were like always had my family's always night owls, except for some of us, but like routinely I would stay up late and watch the Carlin stuff. Like when it would come out, wait for my mom to come home from work, or I would be with my grandpa up in the TV room. He'd be smoking cigars and watch tonight's show.
And I remember then my aunt would go to bed, and that's when my cousins would come home. And they would come home and they were like hip because they were like high school kids and I was like in grade school.
Sure.
So they'd come home and they were probably drunk, they came from a party or something, and then we would watch Letterman, because that's when Letterman was the super edgy young guy, and he was like the more, probably how you looked at Conan O'Brien,
Sure.
compared to, and I remember staying up and watching this guy, and I'm thinking like, he's getting all these laughs being an asshole to people. Like, he's kind of like, his interview style was very dickish. Like, he would kind of like make fun of people or be a little bit of a dick to them, and he was getting huge laughs, and the guests loved it when he would do it, and I was just like, this is fucking cool. Like, this is, I can't believe you can just act like this and people love
You're right. You
it.
said it. You can do anything you want as long as people laugh at the end. I don't care. I'll sit there and watch the most offensive comedian or the most white bread. And as long as they
Yeah.
make the crowd laugh, I would put them on a show I'm running. I don't
Yeah.
care. That's what
Well,
I'm that's what I'm there for, is to see people laugh and enjoy and have a good time.
you're like, you said something that's been floating in my head forever, because I did that dry bar special, and
Yes.
it just came out last week. And when you tell somebody you did a dry bar special, there's a couple different reactions you get. One is, "Oh my god, congratulations, that's cool," and the other is like, "Oh, that's the clean." Uh, like, they like, and the thing is like, I've been doing this long enough. If I couldn't put a half hour of clean comedy together, like, then what am I doing?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
it happens to be my bread and butter, though, because I do a lot of corporate work and a lot
Oh,
of like that kind of stuff. So you have to keep it clean. I worked on Disney
sure.
Cruise Lines, and to me, it was just a writing exercise. And by no means am I a prude. By no means am I a prude. I used to go, when I worked the desk at Stand Up New York. I mean, Jim Norton, Lisa Lampanelli,
Yeah.
Louis C.K. They were 5 nights a week coming through the club, and they were my favorite people to watch. And I couldn't wait. Otto and George, I couldn't
Yeah.
wait.
Yeah.
I loved it.
Yeah.
But when I started doing comedy, I started realizing I could get more work if I worked cleaner, because headliners would want to bring me. So I would like, okay, I'll write a clean 10 minutes, or I'll write a whatever. And then I started getting better checks from writing clean. And so I made it a writing exercise that when I wrote a joke, I would write it however it is. Then I would see if I could do a clean version of it.
Mhm.
And so I'd kind of have both. And then it just became a thing where it was like, oh, you'll pay me how much? Yeah, okay, I won't swear. Like,
I
and
mean,
it just became a thing. But like, I'm not a prude at all. I love dark comedy. I love
yeah.
dirty comedy, but
Yeah.
it's got to be comedy.
Sure.
That's my only
Sure.
thing.
Sure.
I hate, there's dirty hack that
Yes.
it's like you're just trying to shock me.
Yes.
It doesn't work.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then there's, like, I've hung out with Artie Lang. You're not going to shock me.
Sure.
Like,
I love Jim Norton from listening to Opie and Anthony on the radio when I was
oh
younger. So
yeah,
he's always been one of my favorite comics. And I'm like, well,
so
if
great.
he's the only headliner that would like take me on the road, I don't know. I can't, you know me. I'm not, you're so funny. That's so funny you're talking about this, because I was thinking of it in my head before we recorded about how you work, you're just like not on purpose clean, but it's a
Yeah,
good
it just
thing. It's like
happens.
Jim Gaffigan. He's one of my favorites, even though he's super cleanest. He
Yeah,
still does
he's
dark stuff. He has jokes about his wife's brain tumor. Like, you know what I mean?
yeah, yeah. I think it's just, it needs to be funny.
Yeah.
But like, then there's also hack on the clean side. There's
Yeah.
the really corny,
Yes.
horrible, and like, I found a whole nother Christian comedy circuit that is like, they guilt people into thinking that they're funny. I was on a thing, and this lady said that Jesus spoke through her. We were on panel, and she's like, Jesus speaks through me, and that's why I have to, be out there doing comedy. And I'm like, he's the son of God. You think he'd have a better writer? Like, that's like,
He's
if
had
this
3,000
is
years of
it.
practice. Um, religion's such a funny topic, especially with like the wars and stuff that are going on right now that have been going on for the better part of our lives over a religion based thing. To me, is how I see it. Unless it's secretly about oil and they don't want to say it out loud, It's
No,
religion and
I
like
guess that area has been at war since
since I,
one.
I was in elementary school, I feel like. But
Well,
but like
since year one, they've been even
yeah, since
actually
year one. Yeah.
BC, they were fighting over
Yeah.
the same shit.
Yeah. And it's like I don't know. I don't like to get political. I'm never really very political in my comedy. I don't it's not a thing I know enough about to get real serious about it. And I don't
Yeah,
care enough because I can't see how people would ever let a religion dictate how you would be violent to other people. Well,
yeah,
but then I see the people that like do comedy one time and believe that that is their destiny, and I'm like, okay, with these,
yeah. I had sex once too, and boy, I think that's what I'm made to do.
yeah,
That's
with
what.
so this is like the hacky of either side. Like I'd rather I hate the hacky like plain jokes, like very boring, whatever. But like,
Yeah,
cause I'd rather watch some of the new hack is white boys just trying to be really edgy.
yeah.
They just are basically saying slurs and just like
Cancer
hard.
baby, cancer baby, Hitler brain tumor.
Yeah, just like
That's
hard, very like hard takes on things instead of like trying to expand on that in any way.
yeah. I always laugh when it's like, and then they'll make fun of, like, they'll say something like, "Oh yeah, that's so white," and then you're
Yeah.
like, "Dude, you're white. Shut up." Like you're white. Like no, nobody thinks you're cool. Like the NAACP ain't showing up and going, give him a card. He
I
gets a
can't.
pass.
I'm
We
glad
love
people,
that
yeah, I'm
guy.
glad people kind of moved away from that. I feel like they realized it was like hacky to do that. It's like
Yeah.
we're in, yeah, it's like it's anyway. I
I
think,
totally get you what you're saying. I've seen it like on the road, and it's always the MC, brand new, goes on stage and just has these hard takes that you're like, "Hey man, thanks for pissing off the whole crowd.
yeah,
Now the feature is not going to have a good set
yeah,
because he
and
just
they have
spent
to
his
rehost the
time."
audience a little bit.
It's like, do you know these people like got babysitters and showed up to the club tonight
That's what
and
I
bought a
think
ticket,
sometimes.
and then they came in the room, leaving their horrible lives on the other side of the door to have you,
Stink it up.
yeah, to just listen to you for 10 minutes. They
Yeah.
probably want to jump out a window now.
It just feels too much like rhetoric. They're just like, what are you like? And like,
Rhetoric's such a good word.
yeah, it's like, and like I've been in like shows where it's basically like an a bunch of other open micers and some crowd sitting there, and like you can tell the crowd isn't into it, but there's enough other open micers hanging around waiting for like the show after that they all lose it. That the guy, whoever it is, just says the F slur or whatever on stage loudly into a microphone. I think it's just like they don't even think it's funny. It's like cutting nervous
Yeah.
tension. They're just like, ah, we should all be dead right now.
Uh,
That's not a good word to say.
there was a period of time, and it was, I believe it's because of Louis C.K., where it was a bunch of white kids trying to say the N word on stage and get away with it. It was
uh,
white dudes telling the stories or telling jokes where they get to say the N word and feel like they got away with something. Like it was a rite of passage, that it was a guarantee every comic who went up, if it was a white male, they're going to say the N word at some point in their act. Let's time
it's so
it.
funny because I'm actually a huge CK fan. He was in my top still when I named my top five there for you. He's
Yeah.
never
But
left.
he had a bit, and it was a good bit where he could get away with using it.
Yeah. And
But
I
not everybody was trying to the copy it.
no, but it's funny because I'm like I always say I'm like a gay male in my head is how I've felt my whole life. Okay.
I love it.
All right. So um but like very like I don't know, still like misogynistic hetero, like all my friends are. So I'm like,
Yeah.
I actually have said for a long time, one of the first jokes I ever wrote a long time ago contains a extrapolation on using a word in a negative way versus a positive way. And the N word has a negative and a positive. Okay. That could be better. Okay. And I don't, I'm not, I'm not going to tell it. It's like but I'm a Louis C.K. fan, so it tracks. What you're saying tracks 100,000%.
Yeah.
As I've gotten older, obviously, like I just say, literally quote the N word when I say it. But I one time had to open mic that first to see how it felt. I got permission from a member of the community. I am 0.04% West African, if it counts to anyone. I'm also a comedian at heart. I don't put I think earlier we were talking about being gay and doing that, like when I said Ellen, like being gay, and that's not always her primary focus. And one time I got into a fight with some ladies, some Karens that showed up at a comedy festival that people were trying to do, the Wiz City Comedy Fest, that a bunch of comics in town, Alex Grubard and Eddie Finn and a couple other people, um were trying to do, as because Philly doesn't really have a comedy festival. Like now we kind of do.
Yeah.
Someone else started one, but like back then, before COVID, they that was the only one. So whatever. And this party bus full of ladies showed up on
Oh boy.
the pedal bike things.
Oh yeah.
And
The octopus
the,
of
the
pedal.
little, yeah.
Like 8 women pedaling, and they're
Oh,
all
and on a
drunk and
red,
yelling
bright
at each
red.
other.
Yeah, they're drunk and yelling. So you know the vibe. You can tell.
Yeah.
We're in
It's
the, I don't
the
know if you,
entire city of Nashville.
it's yeah. So it's like summer. It's, do you ever been in Milk Boy on South Street
I
in
don't
Philly?
think.
Okay,
I've
it's
been
a,
on South Street.
sure. It's a, so upstairs there's a small bar along the wall, like a long bar, and it's a real skinny long room with a stage at the front where the steps come up. We were in the upstairs doing the comedy festival. Downstairs is very skinny but open front, so like you can pour out onto the sidewalk. Oh, this place holds like 30 people maximum, and all of a
Yeah.
sudden 30 more women come like screaming up the stairs, like hooping and hollering as we're in the middle of this
Oh,
show, a showcase. I think like Lemaire was on stage this time, Lemaire Lee, my friend. And
he's great. I've met
yeah.
him.
So this is, yeah, so this is like he's on stage and it was like he's killing it. A bunch of people, like, they all come in and it's just a nightmare immediately. He just can't even get, like, you can't even hear hardly. I'm just like, oh no. Like, and had to basically like fight down these women to get them to leave over, it was like a 40th birthday party. Like I went up to the one lady and she's like, no, it's her birthday party, blah blah. And like I went, yeah, but you can't. She was like yelling. And Brian, do you know Brian Fennell? He's from around here. He's a comic too.
Jeez, yeah, I know the name.
Yeah. Um,
I know who he
but
is. I'm
anyway, he was
awful.
there too. He was on stage. He works at Helium. He runs a show there on Thursdays called Nightcap.
Okay, yeah,
Uh,
yeah.
he so anyway, he's actually hosting for Eddie Pepitone. This won't come out for a month, but that's this week.
Eddie Pepitone.
Yeah. So anyway, he was there and like the lady was getting in his face, like yelling at him, right in his face on stage. And I just like, I don't charged across the room. I grabbed this lady and I was like, pulled her down. I'm like, you can't get in that guy's face like that, blah blah. And she's like, well, we were told we could come up here and it was part of the map on the thing. And I said, you could easily just go downstairs. Nobody here wants to be at this comedy show with your people, and we don't want you up here. So just leave. And she's like
I love it.
it was like he was like, no, but I'm on your side. I'm a woman. And I was like, I'm a comic before I'm a woman.
Comic trumps everything.
And yeah, so that's all it was. Like
Whatever.
that's
Whatever.
it's a much longer story. But yeah, that was the end of it. Was like, and she went downstairs and cried. And like, I'm just like, I really am a comic before a woman. Because I didn't care whose birthday it fucking was. Go out downstairs out
No.
front. It's nice out. You can go be drunk in the
And
street.
look, she had enough of them already. She should
Yeah. Like
act like an adult.
it's
Like
not,
it's
yeah.
not all about you. It's
No.
not. Like it goes back to the very beginning of our conversation
Yeah.
of these self-centered assholes
The Karens.
who really think it's about them, and they think there's an unspoken rule that it's when it's my birthday I can do anything. No, no.
Yeah.
It's the opposite. It's your birthday. You should grow up.
Yes, you're not a grown toddler. Yeah.
I can't. I hate. I don't really celebrate my birthday after I hit what
Most
25 is the
men,
last
most men, yeah.
milestone where
Yeah.
it's like, hey, I can rent cars now.
Yeah. That's what I always
Like,
say.
I'm done. Like I just found out recently how old I am. I just found out recently somebody was like, oh, so you're 42. I was like, That makes sense. Sure. Yeah. I don't know. I quit celebrating them when I,
Yeah.
at a certain age, you just kind of stop doing that, you know.
Um,
But like, there's certain people out there who really think it's like, I can get as drunk as I want all week, and everybody has to put up with my shit. And it's like, hey, unless you're saving me from a fire or blowing me, I don't want to hear your shit.
that's two valid reasons to drink on a weeknight, if you ask me.
Yeah.
If you blow people or if you save them from fires, you can drink. I will
Drink all you
pay
want.
for your alcohol.
Yeah.
I do with my tax money.
I mean,
Uh,
it's horribly sexist, but when there's those kind of parties where it's like 50 women and they're like loud and obnoxious because it's one of theirs birthday, I always
oh
feel like saying like, I'm not fucking you. I don't care.
no,
Like
no.
I don't care. It's your
Nobody
birthday.
ever wants those people anywhere, really, to be honest, that isn't
Yeah.
like part of that group.
Yeah.
That's a thing that's like a social phenomenon of like bringing like your vibe to an entire place, and it's like, well, maybe you're
Yeah.
not the vibe for here. Maybe you should go just like
Yeah.
be somewhere else.
Why don't you go
um
to a male strip club? That's the vibe they want.
yeah, yeah,
They want the screaming, yelling, drunk ladies.
or just
That's
downstairs, just take it to another room in this particular bar was all I was asking that
Yeah,
day.
but everybody downstairs is going, no, we don't want
Yeah. Nobody,
them.
again, back to the original. No one wants them. All right, we have less than a minute left. You were telling me you had a brain injury, a brain.
Yes.
Okay, so we
So
can come back and talk about that, but the Zoom is going to cut off. So I gotta.
we'll be right back
Oh,
after these
thank
messages.
you. We're back from the break with Mark Ricadonna, and oh,
Seriously, start buying everything from the sponsors that just were on.
yes, they're all wonderful. We love it here. What was I gonna
Boredom.
say? Oh, I like to talk about, like, it's late night right now. What time is it? It's 11:31 here.
Ooh.
Um I like late night snacks. I like high or
Oh,
drunk like craving snacks. So I like to ask people what their weird, like, lately I think I've been doing. Do you ever have Lebanon bologna?
what is it?
Do you ever have Lebanon bologna, it's called?
No, I thought you said lemon and bologna, and I was
My
like,
headphones.
I've never heard of such a thing. Lemon and bologna. I don't
Yeah.
think I know it.
It's like a Amish bologna. It looks like hard salami. It looks like the same weird like fat circles that are in the hard salami, you know?
Yeah, this
Okay.
sounds.
All right. And then but it's bigger. It's like, this big
Yeah.
instead of salamis are like here. And it's not hard like salami. It's soft like bologna, but kind of hard, like thicker. Come to think of it, is kind of like between a salami and a bologna. But
I
it's
need this in my life.
it's like kind of sweet or something. Has
Wow. I
like
bet it
yeah.
would be good with like a hot mustard,
Yes, so spicy mustard and then like cheese. Like I had like
jalapeno mustard, and some pepper jack.
yes, or like because I got like what's the orange and white Monterey Jack? No, cheddar Jack. What the heck is it? It's like orange and white marbling.
Oh yeah, like Colby.
Colby Jack. It's that, and like they have circles of that, sliced up, pre-sliced at Walmart.
Ooh,
So I get those, and then
where'd
like
you get the bologna though?
that was at the Amish store in Bristol. But they do have it at some like just regular grocery stores too. If you just look.
My my parents, they live in Amish country,
Oh,
and
they
like
definitely have it.
they shop at like Amish stores. And
Yeah.
like my parents are hipper than most people who pretend they're to be hip, and
Okay.
like they're like they they pick a cow and a pig, and they have a butcher, and
Okay.
they get vegetables from the Amish people who farm that soil.
Oh yeah.
They
If I
eat
could do that, I would.
local honey. They do everything. Everything's like organic and
Mhm.
everything's, but they don't mean it to be. It's not like they're like,
It's just
oh,
farm
I only eat
fresh.
organic.
Yeah.
It's just it's cheaper for them to go buy from their neighbors than to go to the grocery store. So they go to these Amish markets and get all their stuff. And I bet they have that.
They definitely have it. It's an Amish thing, I'm pretty sure. It's some kind of,
I
I don't
love
know.
Amish people. I
They're
love Amish
they're
people.
actually heinous secretly. They're like the fake wokes. They're very judgy. I don't want to do my like material that I've been doing. I
Really?
have a story about them racism in me.
Oh,
but uh but
it's
but I'll still
funny.
buy the shit out of their pretzel bagels and whatever else they have over at that damn Amish store. The Lebanon bologna and the cheese and mustard roll ups. That's what I like to do at night. That's my like
Oh,
weird.
like a little, oh, it'd be good with like a crab dip.
Yes.
Oh,
Oh, okay. They have
burritos.
all right. See, that's what I
That sounds
like.
good.
That's what I'm talking about.
So this is gonna sound pretentious and dicky, but I'll
Okay.
explain the whole thing. So
Okay.
right now, the Mark Ricadonna snack, if you come to my house, is really some healthy bullshit. And it sounds like I'm being snobby, but it was because I was going to be I started to hit the numbers where I was pre-diabetic,
Yeah.
and they were going to put me on the pills. They put me on
Oh, I've heard of
metformin,
that. Hmm.
and the smells that came off of my body
Oh.
were so foul and awful that I was washing my clothes separate from everybody else in my house.
Oh.
And if even going to the bathroom, one or two was like gagging, smelling so bad.
Ew, from the
And then
medicine.
my toenails fell out.
Ew.
And uh I went to a what do you call it when it's not a hospital, but it's like
The
doctors in an
urgent
office.
care.
I went to an urgent care
Yeah.
because I didn't know what to do, and I didn't associate it that it was the medicine. I
Yeah.
just was like, my toenails fell out, my feet are killing me. Every bone in my body I can
Oh my
feel when I
God.
walk, like I can feel
Yeah.
them.
Yeah.
And I was like, and there's smells coming off of me, and I didn't even tell them the smell part.
Yeah.
I was just telling them
Maybe
about
you
my
didn't think of
bones.
that. You might not have thought of that at
I didn't
first.
associate it until
Yeah.
he connected it. And
Yeah.
he goes, "Are you on any medications?" I go, "Yeah, I'm on this thing because like I'm pre-diabetic called metformin." He goes, "Do you have like a weird odor coming off of you? And like when you go to the bathroom and it's horrible?" I go, "Yeah." And he goes, "Is your vision kind of shitty? Like you feel like you need your glasses more?"
Yeah.
I was like, "Yeah." And he said like three other things, and I was like, "Yeah, yeah." And he goes, "You have every side effect to
Oh
this
my
drug, and it doesn't seem like it's helping you.
God.
So never take another one of those pills."
Oh.
And so I quit taking it, and then I talked to a couple doctors that I'm friends with, and they were like, suggesting different alternatives and whatever. And then the one guy talked me into it because a comedian I know from the Midwest, and this is how funny, this is how you know how big he was. His real name is Haas. Like his name is Haas. And he was a big boy, and he's not a big boy now. He lost all this weight, and
Oopsie.
he's like, "Yeah, I had diabetes. I'm out now.
Yeah.
Like I'm fine." And I was like, "What'd you take?" And he goes, "Ozempic. That's
Oh,
the one that all
everybody
the
talks about it.
Kardashians."
Yeah.
So he's like, "I was on Ozempic," and he goes, "It was the craziest thing, and my blood sugar was like shooting down. I lost all this weight, whatever." And I was like, well, maybe I should do Ozempic. I'd love to lose weight too."
Yeah.
And so I went to the doctor, and they were like, "Yeah, whatever. Try this. It's like a lighter version of it." And I went to get it, and then I found out it was the drug that all those people are just getting to lose weight.
Yeah.
So I was like, I don't want to take this. Like, I don't want to take it, and it's on such back order that they're like, we have no idea when it's going to come in. So I went, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to beat this, and I'm going to lose the weight and get my blood sugar down and do all that stuff before the prescription comes in. So now I've been eating the shit out of oatmeal.
Okay.
You ever make cold oatmeal where you're
The
like,
overnight kind?
yeah,
Yeah.
and I fill it with all kinds of like fun, like nuts or different
Yeah, yeah.
things,
That's what
but it's all healthy stuff.
yeah.
And then I mix it with Greek yogurt,
Okay.
and there's two different kind of Greek yogurts. There's one that's called the Greek Gods. It it's as good as ice cream,
Okay.
but it's healthy. And
Okay.
I mix it, and everybody makes fun of me. They're like, "Oh, you got your yogurt and your oats." And I'm telling you, when you eat this shit, you're like, "This is the best stuff I've ever." This is fucking
No,
insane how good
I
it is.
I believe you because they have that company overnight oats that came out after COVID because I was doing the overnight oats.
Yeah,
It got big then, probably from TikTok because you can easily put it in like a little jar thing and like have the oats
yeah,
and pour. I use like plant milk, almond milk or whatever.
yeah,
But you can make that taste like a sweet treat, like a dessert kind of if you're trying to be
yeah.
healthy about it in the morning. So I get it because I think I was on that metformin briefly after my transplant, my kidney transplant, because I had a high blood sugar from the high prednisone levels that they had us on. So once the
Oh
prednisone
wow.
went down, I didn't need it anymore, thankfully. But we can get diabetes pretty easy too. Um,
Yeah.
but
Do
anyway,
you
oh,
did you have any of those side effects when you were doing it?
you know
Did you
what's
notice?
weird? I had a lot of just from the kidney and like you're so
I
like
yeah,
when you
that's
get that, it like makes your whole body go into shock and like readjustment. So for months, it just felt weird. I still feel weird sometimes because the drugs are very hard on us and make our immune system like whack. So,
yeah,
um, but that where you said your whole body hurts,
yeah,
sometimes that will happen to me randomly, like just out of nowhere. I'll be like, oh my God, why is like my
yeah.
whole
I
entire
feel
all
like
of my
I could feel
bones?
every spinal
Yeah.
disc in my
Yes.
whole. I'd wake
Yeah.
up and be like,
Yeah, yeah. No, I have that. And I wonder if sometimes it's like residual now that you said it, but the drugs will fuck you up more than the doctors will fuck you up more than like a disease will sometimes. Because diabetes, you if it's not
yeah,
type one, you can beat it. You can do it with diet. It's just annoying to not eat sugar because I love sweets.
yeah.
But I,
But
I I like stuff that's salty too. So I'll like go just make my sweets. Like I made baked oatmeal. Actually, that's what I was gonna say. Have you tried that yet?
oh,
It
I
was
love
really
baked oatmeal.
easy. It was so good. It
I
was
get my
easy.
oats from the Amish store at my parents' house too.
Oh, okay. Okay.
So they're probably like freshly off the
They're
grain belt.
fresh milled. No, secretly those Amish probably they're probably getting it from China or something. These motherfuckers. They take off that bonnet when they come out of the back at the end of the night and go all American or whatever they call it on the Breaking Amish show. Like coming out listening to gangster rap in the back.
And it's funny, her name's Sonia, a friend of mine that I know,
Yeah.
um, connected me to a holistic doctor. She practices holistic medicine and Chinese medicine,
Mm-hmm.
and she has me on all kinds of really great supplements and stuff,
Yep.
um, and teas and different things. And I've never felt, I mean, since I was like a teenager, I've never felt this like good,
Yeah. That's
like I
good.
feel good. And it was, I really can't thank her enough for
That's
hooking
awesome.
it up.
I recommend that. I've done a holistic stuff my whole adult life. Once I found out when I was 19 that I would need a kidney transplant someday, I went all as holistic as I could with that kind of stuff because Western medicine is just take this pill, take this pill, take this pill. And as you saw, pills will
Yeah,
fuck you up.
you pay a toll somewhere else.
Yes. It's like
Like my
just
blood sugar might have went down, but I paid a toll somewhere else.
it
And
probably
my
fucks your pancreas up or something, you know what I mean? Or whatever
yeah,
else who knows, nervous system, weird things that they're just like shutting down your body's normal function to suppress a symptom, not getting to the cause of what the symptom is, which is diabetes is your pancreas or whatever. And like the way
yeah.
sugar and your liver, it's
Well,
like,
that's my whole thing is it's because of my liver. I have
mm-hmm.
my liver's shot. It's like a fatty liver.
Oh, I know somebody else with that. Yeah.
And so, well, thankfully, it's non-alcoholic fatty liver, and that's in the title. Because as soon as you tell somebody
Yeah.
that you have a shit, your liver's fucked up, they're
They're
like, "Oh,
like,
that's
you
because all
fucking
the
drunk.
drinking."
Yeah.
It's like, no, no, it's non-alcoholic fatty liver. It's
It's
in the
just,
title.
yeah. It's just from the rest of your king's diet of little sausages and cheeses and I don't know.
It's every other aspect of my life, but it's
No,
not the alcohol.
American standard American diet is terrible for the body. That's part of the holistic lifestyle. Is eating what we are just shown to eat here will give you diabetes because the USD wants you to be sick.
Yeah.
They let
Oh
us
yeah.
have foods that other countries consider illegal.
Jesus
They
Christ, can you
put yellow.
imagine?
They put yellow number 5 in candies, and that shit gives kidneys on tumors on kidneys. They put red in there. It gives like my brain tumors, or like they give all the different colors give different things, like
Yeah.
cause problems. But we're like, oh, put it in the candy, like make it look fun. uh,
When I was younger and I was like, in acting school and stuff, and I was doing yoga, I
yeah,
was very in touch with my body. Like
sure,
I could feel when something was up, or
yeah,
I'm gonna get sick probably in a week. I can feel it,
yeah,
and I can feel it out. I lost all that. Like I
mm,
lost it. I kind of, road habits and
sure.
living a lifestyle that's shit.
You got to crack that
And
third eye back open.
so I started getting into the holistic stuff, and I
Yeah,
started getting more in tune. And I started going to a nutritionist to try to beat this with the liver and all the diabetes thing and all that stuff. So I was going to this nutritionist. She's very cool. And I told her that it was the weirdest thing. I took my kids out and it was Halloween. I was going to miss Halloween because I was working. I was going to miss them trick or treating. So the day before Halloween, I go, I'm going to take you guys out for whatever you want. And we're going to do, whatever. So we go to, they want to get pizza. Go to the pizza place. I haven't drank soda, honest to God, unless it was in a mixed drink or a cocktail or something. Like,
hmm.
I haven't had like a can of soda or a bottle of soda in probably 15 years.
Oh, okay,
Like, not because I'm a health nut. I just don't like soda. I like club soda.
sure.
Like I like that, but I don't like Coca-Cola. I got Fanta
Yes.
Halloween. It was like a Halloween Fanta. It was like
Okay.
black, and I got it because it was Halloween, and I was gonna like
The weirdest
show the
one.
kids that I'm like, look at I'm all in the
I
holiday spirit. I drank this and I've never felt weirder in my life. Like I couldn't think, I couldn't do anything. I was telling the nutritionist, she looked it up and she mentioned a bunch of, oh, it has dye number, blah, blah,
Mhm.
blah. And your body probably went through like a whole like rejection, and that's what
Yeah.
happened. Like
Yeah.
that night I got sick. Like I woke
Oh.
up in the middle of the night, went in the bathroom, threw up, and was like,
Oh,
what was
yeah.
that
It was
about?
like just straight up toxins.
And then I like went back to bed and woke up in the morning like, did I get up and throw up in the middle of the night? What happened?
You're like, did I black out on soda?
Like, did I drank a bottle of whiskey a week ago? Like Fanta, black Fanta did this to me.
Oh, yeah. That stuff's it's like it's horrible, most of it. And it's just like I don't know. So we were talking about when you were younger, you had a car wreck. You want to talk
Yes.
about?
So it was 2001 or two. It was like probably right after 9/11.
Okay.
And so I remember being at this. I came home to visit my parents in
Yeah.
Ohio, and my friends were all in college. And I remember my one friend invited me out to where she went to school, and like I was friends with her since I was like a little kid. Like grew up together. So I went out, and I know she had like a real serious boyfriend, or whatever. So like I went out and I thought like something was up. Like turns out that she was knocked up and she wanted advice and she wanted asked for me, which was like, don't ask me. I'm the worst person to get advice from. Especially back then, I was like horrible.
Yeah.
So I went and I visited her at the college campus and we all hung out. And I actually, it's crazy. I wasn't drunk. Nobody believes me.
Well,
But I got you'll, the ambulance proved I didn't. Um,
I I believe you.
but so we go to leave and they were all like, just stay. I'm like, no, I'm only in town for the weekend. I got to
Mhm.
spend time with my parents. So I'm going to leave. So I get in a car and I'm following my friend, and I had a Jeep. It was like a 90s Jeep. And a deer came out and I swerved the steering wheel way too hard
Okay.
that the Jeep went like sideways. And then when I went to compensate for it, we went into a ditch. And when we went to go back up from the ditch and we would have ramped back onto the road,
Yeah.
the tire was sideways and hit like a big dirt or cement, whatever it was,
Yeah.
hit it and then shot the back of the Jeep forward. So I shot out of it
Oh my God.
and it ripped the seatbelt off of me. I went through, it was a soft top. I went through the soft top. It was like a cartoon where you could see the hole I
The
went
print,
through.
the imprint.
Like
Yeah.
a wily coyote style. And I went through that. And when I went out of the Jeep, I like flipped in the air and I landed on the back of my head. And they had to
Oh,
put 30 staples in the back of my head. I
okay.
landed on the cement and slid into the ditch on the other side of the road. And my Jeep flew out of the thing and almost ran me over.
Oh
It went right by me and then hit a telephone pole on the other side of the thing.
my God.
So I was blacked out. I didn't remember this part. This was all collected from the car I was following, who had my buddies in it. I was in
Okay.
the car by myself,
Okay.
and then when the ambulance come, so he called 911, and then when the ambulance came, they couldn't find me. They didn't know where
Oh,
I was, so I crawled out of the ditch, and they thought I was drunk. So the ambulance drivers were kind of assholes to me and like
sure.
threw me in the ambulance and had a hard time. I have really small veins.
Oh, I do
So they were
too.
just
Yeah.
poking and prodding
Uh-huh. Oh, that makes,
around.
oh, that's the worst.
And apparently, I don't remember this because I was completely like
Just
out.
like still shocked out. Yeah.
And they were asking me questions, and apparently, I was being really aggressive and mean back. So like they were like, "Do you know where you are?" And I'm like, "In an ambulance, asshole." Like
Oh.
you're fucking you're in charge of my life and you don't know where we are. Like I was like being combative, and they were like, "No, like do you know where you were coming from?" And I was like, "I'm not sure. We're on the PA Ohio line. I was at this college driving to my parents." Like I was being real
Yeah.
aggressive at them.
Yeah.
And apparently I found out later in life, uh, so when you some people have brain injuries, they get really hyper aggressive, like
Yes.
the animal comes out of them.
That's like punch drunk is like one of the people
Yeah.
that, mhm.
So they get me back to the hospital, and they got to do all this different stuff, the machine, MRI machine, and all that stuff. But I couldn't sit still, so they had to keep doing it over and over because my body was shaking and vibrating. And they were afraid if I fell asleep, I was gonna go into a coma, and all this stuff. So it was like horrible, like 2 days of my life in this hospital. And I wasn't allowed to get out of bed. I wasn't allowed to do anything. I remember I yelled at one of the people in the ER because they were cutting my clothes off.
Yeah.
And I was wearing, my brother had this really cool, like, cowboy shirt,
Okay.
like those old, like, cowboy star, like,
Like a country western like type.
yeah,
Yeah. Hmm.
it was like really cool, and there was blood all over it.
Oh, geez. It's a
And
Halloween
so
costume.
they cut it off, and I was yelling at him like, "My brother's gonna kick your ass, man!" Like,
I've actually had multiple people in my real life tell me stories where someone was wearing something that really like was like one of those like special, and then the ER people had to like chomp chomp chomp. I think I even have a story like that, and you're like, damn it, why did I pick this universe?
so that I started to get where I started to feel like myself again. Like all of a sudden, I like woke up and was like, "Fuck, am I doing here?" Like all this memories of the hospital came later. Like when I came to, I don't remember any of it. Like later, as people told me what happened, I would recollect, like, "Oh yeah, I do remember. That was 2 days. Like I don't remember any of it. I just all of a sudden one day woke up and kind of felt like a little bit like myself, and I felt like pain for the like first time of all this happening. I was like, oh." shit, what happened? Like, I am hurting. And I saw the stuff coming out of my arms
Mm,
and all the different like things. And my parents were in the room, but I didn't even notice they were in the room. I have a real thing with needles.
yeah.
They make me gross.
I don't I don't watch when they take, you know how many like blood tests I've had to have with being a kidney transplant person? I
Oh,
I hate it. I hate when they
they
put it
like
in
take
there and they try to
drop
jab
it.
around for your vein and they're like just digging around your arm.
Oof.
And I'll be, I, my thing is I tell the blood tech ladies, I go, you get 2 shots to get my vein and then I pop you in the jaw if you don't get it. Get away from me. Anyways.
I saw the needles and I just yanked all the
Oh,
shit out of my
you did
arm.
a movie
Blood
scene.
started spraying all over.
Ah.
It was like blood every, and I
Yeah.
got up and
It's
I
right in
was
your
gonna go
artery,
into
dude.
the and I go to get up to go into the bathroom, and it's like all of a sudden when I put my legs out of the bed, it was like, "Oh, hey asshole, you don't know how to walk,"
Oh.
and I just
And
fell
now,
to the ground.
and this was how long? What, overnight? Hours, a
It
few
was like
hours,
2 days.
two
Two
days.
days
Okay.
I was in the hospital,
Okay. And
and,
you hadn't
and
gotten out of bed yet at that point.
yeah, they
Okay.
were bedpanning me and
Sure.
sponge
Catheter or
bathing me and
whatever.
all that.
Yeah.
And so then actually no, it was one day. So I
One
was in the
day.
hospital too. This was the second day. So I was only this was the second day. Yeah. Because I was in 3 days.
Yeah.
So it was second day, yeah. So I don't know how to walk. My head knows I know how to walk. Of course I know how to walk. I've been
Yeah.
walking my whole
You're
life. What the
like, oh,
fuck?
let me get up and go to the bathroom. Here I
But
go.
my brain is like it's like the strings weren't attached to the puppet.
It's so weird.
I'm still hitting the button, but
Hmm.
the leg's not moving.
Yeah.
And so I don't know what to do, and they're like, "What are you doing? What are you doing?" You know, everybody's yelling at me. I'm like, "I need to go to the bathroom,
Yeah.
and I need to go to the bathroom."
Yeah.
And I was so stubborn that I like pulled myself up by my arms,
Yeah.
made my way kind of toward the bathroom.
Yeah.
My parents are trying to help me, and I went in the bathroom, and I was just like, what, where am I, what happened? I'm trying
Yeah.
to put it together. Like I needed to go into the bathroom, not because I actually had to go to the bathroom. I
Yeah.
needed to put together what the hell was going on. So I started trying to collect pieces of like, and like I'm sitting there like, did Steve, the guy I was following, does he know I'm here? Because like all of a sudden I remembered I was at college, at that college with them. Does he know I'm here? Did the people I work with in New York, do they know I'm here? The
Mhm.
people at the comedy club? Like, how long have I been here? And like, there was all these questions, and I'm trying to put it together. And like, I come out of the bathroom and I start asking my parents all this stuff. And eventually, the doctor basically explained it to me that it was like, if your brain's like this, you get your head hit the ground so far, it's like this. And
Mm.
now with sleep and rest, your neurons will start coming back together,
Yeah.
and hopefully you go back to normal.
Fingers crossed.
but together. So like I didn't know what was happening. I had
Hmm.
no clue what was going on. And I started realizing as like I had to like go into the thing where they kind of stood me up and
Yeah.
the like this is how your legs bend.
Oh,
Think about it. Think
yeah.
about bending your legs. Think about doing it. And like
Yeah.
sit there. And eventually it was like, okay, it's starting to kind of come. And then I stayed another night and we were doing stuff like that. And then it was like they wheelchaired me out, and I was like, had to go home and basically rest and be in a wheelchair. And then it moved to a cane,
Yeah.
and it was like, it was a very fast recovery because I didn't break bones.
Yeah.
My head was complete. I landed on my head. My
Yeah.
head broke my fall.
Jello
So my
head.
body, yeah. So my body is completely fine. Little road rash.
Sure.
Brain, completely scrambled eggs. So I have to go back to New York, and I have to go back to my job, and I have to do all the things that, going back to normal. But I realized when I'm on the phone with someone and I hang up,
Yeah.
I don't remember one thing. I'll go, I know I just talked to Sonia.
Yeah.
What did we talk about?
Oh,
And so I was running a comedy club,
yeah.
like one of the A-list comedy clubs in New York.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I started carrying, and I still have them here. I'll show you. Hold on one second.
Yeah. While you're getting that, I'm going to say, like, you don't have your headphones and you can't hear me, but the people at home can hear me say, I don't remember what people just said to me on the phone, and I don't have a traumatic brain injury.
I take notes. I have these homemade notebooks all over at all
Okay.
times,
Okay.
and I have to take notes when I'm on the
Oh,
phone.
I have to take notes when I'm on the phone. I'm being dead serious.
And I have a hard calendar, paper calendar.
Yeah.
And anytime you talk about something, I have to go to the calendar and look at it.
Oh, I use Google Calendar.
And I can't use computer ones for some reason.
Oh, yeah, I
It
like Google
doesn't.
Calendar because my old job we had to do it, so I became really familiar with using it on my phone.
Yeah.
Um, but Siri can actually add those for you too. You can just be like, "Hey Siri," if you have, you probably do it with Google Phone too. Be like, "Hey Google, add this date to my calendar." Just saying for the future.
I should do it.
It's
So
it's,
then,
but I like that you have a system.
because it's the only thing that works. Because I tried doing the Google Calendar and then I
Yeah.
erased it on accident,
Oh no.
and it was like,
You're such a dad.
that was 6 months of gigs. I have no idea where I'm supposed
Oh
to be.
shit, because those just be backed up like forever once you put it in there in any Google account. That's a shame. I'm sorry. I'll teach you. I'll give you a class.
Well, this was also when I was like first
Oh,
coming
okay.
out. I was
Okay, you
like,
got
I'm
more
gonna make
neurons now. You have more
yeah.
neurons now. You're better.
So,
Uh,
but then it got so bad that
yeah.
it was like, and I think this is self-diagnosis, so it could be full of shit.
Okay.
I think I also have aphasia,
Is that
which is
face blindness or whatever?
no, I can see a word
Okay.
and I know what the word is. I know the word. I can completely hear it.
Sure.
I know what it means, but I can't say it.
Oh.
I can't say the word, and
It
I
like won't come out of your mouth.
it'll come out wrong, and I'll know it's wrong as I'm saying it, and I go, I know I
Oh.
mispronounced it, and they're like, okay, it's this, and they'll say it,
Yeah.
and then I can't say it again,
Oh.
and
So
it'll just hit me with certain words that it's like, yeah, I just can't get that right. I know
oh.
what it is.
Yeah.
Like I totally get it. I
Yeah.
know how you're pronouncing it. It's not going to happen today.
Yeah. That's
And
crazy.
and and I'm very dyslexic, but that was before the accident.
Yeah. 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 We're on the LD team over here, learning disabilities. Mine's the auditory processing delay, which is terrible. Um, what was I gonna say? Oh, I actually have an article. If you have let's see here. You have so you have that you probably have that aphasia. I never heard of that. I heard that term before, but I just really did never look up what it was. Let's see. You have anything else that like happened? Because I found an article here that is top 20 weirdest and rarest mental illnesses you won't believe exist.
So I can't remember numbers to save my life.
Oh, what like people's phone numbers or you just numbers like you're like,
That
what's that number that comes after four again?
but not that bad. But like if you said to me, Mark, I'm going to tell you the number 22.
Okay.
And if you remember that by the end of this podcast, I'll give you $1 million.
Okay.
I'll bet you $1 million I won't remember it.
So you're negative 2 mil right now already.
Yeah. So it's like and it can be one digit number. Like you can
Oh.
tell me to remember this. If I don't write it down,
Yeah.
gone forever.
So you were never like that. I mean, you were younger when you had this accident. And so it started happening to you
But I
right
was young when
away.
the accident happened.
Yeah, that's what I mean. So like that happened to you right away. You started to have the memory things like right
Yeah.
away. Okay, yeah, that's what I
I
mean.
was like a
Yeah.
freak when we were in grade school because I could
Okay.
remember everybody's phone number. I knew everybody's number.
Well, I have a thing about how people that grew up like that, where you had to know phone numbers when before cell phones were all digital, when you just had like a flip
Yeah.
or a brick. Um, you had to remember like your close friends. I still know my sisters. I'm actually autistic in that way. I can remember a phone number once I type it enough times. I'll remember it like
Yeah.
forever.
Yeah. I was
But
good like that. It's gone.
oh,
Gone.
you lost your autism. Damn, they fucked you
Yeah.
up.
I
They really
lost my I had one X-Men power. It's gone.
so it was you chose for some reason to I don't know. How did you say the accident happened again at the very beginning? You skidded like what did I miss
A deer jumped out and I kind of
deer, the deer. Oh
swerved
wait,
and
that
missed.
made me that's a synchronicity because this week I had somebody cancel a show I'm doing. They couldn't do it because they hit a deer this week. Shelly that
Oh,
works the front desk at Helium just hit a deer last week. And then I just saw somebody else say they
well, it's
hit a
hunting
deer
season.
today. I know it's mating season. That's
Yeah.
why
Well, that's what
that's why it's fall. They
them
love it. They're out there
bastards.
bucking around in the woods.
Yeah. Like now we got to take them out with
But
our car.
yeah, okay. So yeah, so I was trying to think back like that deer was like your that was so okay, so in life we have a destined path and a fated path.
Mhm.
Destiny is like you were going to become a comic and work in comedy. That was your path because you're doing it. You're there. You make money. You make a living from it. You were booker. You were whatever. You know what I mean? Entertainment. That was like your path. The fate is. Do you remember AIM, like instant messenger?
Yeah.
Okay.
Holy shit.
Mine was like the price of fate. And to me, it always means like if you are willing to go after a destiny, you have these little times where fate are going to come and hit you. And you have to like be willing to say, I don't care. I'm going to keep going. So, by all intents and purposes, you would hit that accident, like skid it out, whatever you were thinking of. Were you been doing comedy at the time yet? Or were you
Yeah. I
okay?
just was like kind of in the,
You're a
I was
new
still,
toddler comic.
I was still like running the club and I didn't quite leave it yet to do this full time.
Okay.
I was still in the like baby comic learning phase.
So in the back of your mind, you're driving the Jeep that night. You went to talk to this chick, whatever. Somewhere in your subconscious is, oh, I'm a comedian. On tomorrow, I have to do blah 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 in comedy. Okay, you're driving in the car. This deer, this piece of fate, like comes out of nowhere to try to like push you off your destined path because that could easily fuck up a comedian. I was gonna say, how do you remember your jokes? Because I can barely remember stuff of mine sometimes. But like that's something that okay, so fate then is accepting that like you're that then all right, so you have that thing happen, like that deer was your fate that night was this,
Yeah.
that could have thrown you a less a not a stronger person, like you're a stronger person, but like a lesser person, not a weaker person. I don't, I'm not judging other people, but
I know
like
what you mean, but
someone else in that position might have just been like, well, I'm handicapped now. I can't do anything ever again. I have to lay in the bed. But you were there with like the Kill Bill energy with like wiggle your big toe. And like, I don't know. I just feel like it's important to think about like, even though you have all these weird things that happened to you,
yeah.
you, it's like sometimes I think that stuff is pre programmed as little like missions on the boards when you go through the game of life to go like, are you still here? You know what I mean? It's like Netflix asking you,
Check
are you
in.
still watching? Like it's like
Yeah.
gives you that like it shakes you from your core of your being to be like, I'm gonna still do this thing that heavily involves my brain. And
Yeah.
I don't know, I just think it's interesting.
I I also lost track of like time is now a weird thing where it's like I wrote for Weekend Update for 4 years and people go, what 4 years?
You
I
can't
don't
remember
know.
exactly.
I have no clue. I have no clue. The only thing I can tell you was it was a year before the Trump election, Trump
Okay.
Clinton,
Okay.
and then it was, 3 years after that.
Okay.
So it was pretty much Trump's whole first presidency. I don't know what years those were.
I I think most people would like to forget them.
That's
Um
true. But I,
uh
I like, shouldn't you know? Like, I don't even know
I don't know. Yeah, I have a tendency
president.
to go, okay, I know it was around this year because that movie was out or this or that, but I have the kind of brain that like I can just pull things from pieces of information like that. So to have an injury that would make me unable to do that is very scary to think about.
Yeah, it's
Um,
weird.
we have
It's
only a
weird.
few. I have more weird for you if you'd like to come back just for like maybe a
Yeah,
few more minutes. I have a weird article.
100%.
All right. Okay.
Let's hear a word from our sponsor.
Yes. I was recording the whole time.
Oh,
I just cut it off for you to say happy birthday.
happy birthday.
Anyway, we'll see if we leave that beginning part in here. Anyhow, we're
I just think it's funny that we turn it off. I don't want to hear you say happy birthday. I'll be one of them ladies
I'm
at
like you. I'm like
the
you. I'm a
party.
man. I told you I'm a gay man in my head.
Yeah, no birthdays.
No birthday celebrations.
No birthdays for this princess.
Yes. All right. We're gonna slide us down
Oh,
here.
here we go.
Yes, we have heard of depression, anxiety, etc. Some other ones. All right. So it's so funny because I just put up a clip from an episode I recorded months ago with Courtney Reynolds, very funny comedian. And this Alice in Wonderland syndrome was on his list. It's kind of weird. It's just basically like you feel like something's really small when it isn't, or you feel really small and something's really big. I used to do a visualization thing when I was younger to fall asleep that I pretended I was the tiniest thing in the world and I could expand like the whole universe around me. Like, you know what I mean? Like
Ah,
with my mind. So
I
maybe I
think
have that.
with the new progressive lenses that are coming out, I
Yeah.
could I look at people and I'm like, your legs are tiny.
um, so
Wow.
erotomania, suffers of
Oh,
erotomania, are convinced that someone is in love with them. I think I have had that many times.
I think most people's had that.
The individual experiencing this believes that a person, usually someone of a much higher social status, typically celebrity status, has fallen deeply in love with them. Oh, that's me with Liev Schreiber.
Oh, really?
Even if the other person denies any feelings, the individual affected will not be convinced. Yeah, that sounds like a mental illness. That's why dealing with it is
Yeah.
difficult. Okay. Celebriphilia is very similar to erotomania, but it's obviously just imagining an affair with a celebrity. But the other way around, these suffer from the overwhelming obsessive sexual desire for a celebrity. Yeah, I know people like that. I feel like they like
Yeah.
buy all the magazines or whatever. I went to see Leo Schreiber in a play just so I could be 10 feet from him.
You could have switched places with me. I went to his gym forever.
Oh my God, what?
Yeah. He owns a boxing
Excuse
gym.
me. Um, I that's insane. No. I had to stop and take a breather there for a minute.
Because you imagine him boxing.
Yeah, because I love Ray Donovan. Um, I was trying to get both of us on the screen here. I can only see me or you.
Well, it's fine.
It's fine.
It's fine.
I
I'm
think I
excited
fixed
to
it.
find
I
out more
think
of
I
this.
fixed it. I know. It's like I always say podcast. Here's the thing with podcasts is like it's my first podcast. So I'm, younger comedian, older lady. That might be my first album title.
I like that.
But so I'm like figuring out tech and stuff as I go for podcasting and like um I don't know. It's just it's one of those things that like makes me like, well, everyone else it's like it's supposed to be listened to. I have a good voice for radio. I know I look good on camera too, but like let's chill. Like people will like complain, like weird random people on Twitter or something will be like, "Oh, could you make the video smaller?" And like, okay, I don't. I'm a
They're
comedian. I am
hoping
funny.
that you have celebriphilia for them.
Yeah, no, they have it for me because they're weird TikTok short. Anyway, Cotard syndrome. I've heard of this before. First described in 1880 by French neurologist Jules Cotard. Very frightening, but real syndrome was the person suffering believes they are dead. I did not know that's what that was. Did you know that?
Wow.
Also called
No.
also called the walking corpse syndrome. Those suffering from Cotards are very hard to treat as they do not believe they are real living beings.
Wow.
Humans have a morbid curiosity when it comes to zombies and the undead, to the point where we can even suffer from a kind of zombie hell ourselves. Sufferers believe they are the walking dead. People with Cotard's delusion think their bodies are rotting and decomposing. Some are sure that they have lost a part of the body or an internal organ.
Whoa.
That's so weird.
But wouldn't that immediately go away, like when you poke them with something and it hurt?
I don't know. Let's see here. In severe cases, a patient may believe that he or she does not exist. Well, then you can't poke them with a stick if they're not here.
Yeah.
The walking corpse syndrome usually results from a severe brain injury or mental disorder. So some are convinced they are dead, that they do not bother to eat or get up and do eventually die. It's rare, but like let's talk about like okay, brain injury. You didn't know your legs didn't work. They didn't know
Yeah.
they were alive.
Yeah. I mean, I,
De- Delusion is one of the craziest things because we have a schizophrenic person in our family, you know,
yeah.
and there's been times in the past when she was unmedicated that it was like, oh, the aliens are coming. I'm like,
Wow.
well, that's she's not wrong, but like we don't say that in polite society.
Well, and depending on your age, it's also like your fun aunt.
Yeah, but not
Like,
when she's like, you know, walking on the side of the road one day because she got out and like says the power lines are talking to her. Like,
let's see what Aunt Lucy's doing today.
yeah. I mean, but the brain itself, that's why I picked this article for you because the brain itself is so interesting how it can make us do things. Lima syndrome. Most of us have heard of Stockholm syndrome, where the hostages become attached to the kidnapper. This is the opposite. The ones who have kidnapped become emotionally attached to their victim.
Ooh, that
Okay.
poor Lindbergh baby.
Yeah, or like what's that one where like the guy is like the family friend and like the priest and they have the documentary. I've talked about it in another episode, I think, and they like
Oh,
he takes the little girl when she's 12 and like is sleeps in her bed with her and like the parents allow it. They're just like best friends and then like one day he takes her to this like trailer that he lives in a different part of like Alabama or whatever. I've said Alabama twice now in this episode. One of my good friends is from there. They're not all Hicks, um
but some of them are.
but he was like I don't know in love with this little girl like that he kidnapped. I don't know, but then he told her
Right.
something about aliens anyway. That's a weird one. I guess I always thought like the kidnappers were already in love with the person they
Yeah,
take
that's what I was kind of
for the
thinking.
most part, unless it's like a revenge thing where they're like I'm taking this person to get money or like
Yeah.
take them from my ex, like a Amber Alert. But like I don't know. That's the less heard about
Ugh.
one, obviously. Capgras delusion, probably one of the weirdest mental illnesses. Capgras delusion is a frightening disorder where the sufferer thinks that a close personal friend has been replaced by an imposter who looks like
I've
exactly like
heard
their
of this.
friend. Have you?
It's
It's
like a device for a play or something.
okay. Okay, that makes sense.
Like I
Um,
have heard of that,
like
but for that
it's like
reason.
dementia, but just for like your one
One
homie
person.
and like you know everyone
That's
else.
not. Did you ever see that? It was I think on an airplane, and the lady flipped out. That person's
Oh,
not
that got
real.
yeah. I watched the thing behind the guy who it is. I saw the guy on TikTok that she's talking
Oh,
to, and he was like just like tattooed throat and was just like real like I don't know, man. I had on like this t-shirt with like the symbols and I said God didn't matter or like something stupid. You know, he was just like some like regular guy that was just kind of like, you
I like
know,
that you explained that guy and said, just some regular guy.
just like he was like like a blue collar, but like a little bit more spiritual of a blue collar guy. You know what I
Yeah,
don't know.
he's
But
hipster.
I thought she was just drunk on Xannies, but I didn't watch her video. I didn't care
I
what she
think
had to
she's
say.
all capgrass. I think
She had
she's.
Capgrass. Okay, she forgot her
I
homie
think
that she
so.
got on the plane with. I'm not good with French Canadians. Please forgive me. I know my last name already doesn't exist. You can call me Sonia Zed. Folie à deux means madness of two and describes a delusion that is shared by two people. Oh, there was usually a primary and a secondary person in the shared delusion. This is like relationships. The primary starts the
Yeah,
delusional thinking and passes it on to the secondary. I guess that could be with someone who's more like a
there's a key
liar. That's
for
like a
every lock.
yeah, a really good like liar that could be like you know telling somebody like we're gonna do this and like convince somebody
Talk
that
them
they're gonna
into it.
take over the world or like I don't know like some weird
Yeah.
interesting factitious disorder. No one likes being ill, but those with factitious disorder actually obsess about it. They intentionally make themselves ill. Oh, they do Munchausen syndrome to themselves. Uh, they will create illnesses and symptoms and tell lies to cover up the fact that they are well. This might,
Oh,
so it's like a hypochondriac, but like not afraid of being scared. They want people to be like, oh, are you okay? Um,
yeah. There's
the,
a lot of these people online.
yeah. They might
Don't you
this
feel like there's a lot of people that go online and then talk about like in the hospital again, and then they don't give
Oh,
details?
you know what? You're
So
right. That's
everybody's
true.
like, "Oh my God, are you okay? What
Hmm.
happened this time?"
Yeah, because it says
Or
this might
like,
have. Oh, go ahead.
what's the GoFundMe?
Oh yeah,
Like
uh-huh.
people
People
who
they
go
do
on
that and then have
GoFundMe
gotten
and
caught doing fake ones, like saying they had cancer and
yeah,
stuff. Yeah. Definitely a lot of devious people out there that would do something like that. When I like really had to do one of those, I felt so like kind of almost embarrassed, not embarrassed, but like like they recommend you do one for your like I had to pay for copay to get a kidney. It wasn't like
oh
free,
Jesus.
and it was quite a few $1,000s. So like you know what I
Well,
mean?
what people don't understand is they'll be like, "Whoa, you don't have insurance." Yeah, insurance maybe it helps with the hospital stuff, but you're not working. You're not bringing in money.
Yeah, like
So how are you supposed to pay for
I
the
was right
bills? How are
before
you supposed
that.
to pay
Yeah,
for
but yeah. Luckily I
that?
had enough like saved up sick time,
Yeah.
you
Oh
know.
shit. That's
Yeah.
thank God.
Yeah.
I
And it
mean,
happened.
isn't it weird though that like something like that happened to you, which is horrible,
Yeah.
but like we couldn't just like the country we live in, one of the most richest countries in the
Oh,
world, couldn't just go like, "Hey, look, we're gonna help you out. We're gonna make sure you're okay. Don't worry about it.
yeah. No,
Just
like
recover."
I think about it every single day, especially with like it's sad that there's war in other countries and we feel like we should help them, sure, but like maybe 1 billion of those dollars could go to some
Taking
medical
care of bills for
stuff.
people,
Yeah,
people who are
giving us some kind of people who have to pay medical copays, some kind of a besides the affordable coverage that like is still that was what I had was Affordable Health Care Act. So I still had to pay a big ass copay when I needed a real surgery done.
yeah.
And like it was,
I
people were
you
so
think
nice and
we'd be
did do
able
the
to
GoFundMe, but
you think we'd be able to why are you having to ask your friends
for money online, yeah, why do I have to beg like a
money
beggar? It's a shame.
where the country should be doing that for
No,
you? I mean,
exactly. Yeah, it's a hot
that's
topic because
drives me
the US,
insane.
the FDA owns the government. And, I just watched Painkiller on Netflix. I highly recommend you watch
Oh,
that if you did not.
I
Uh,
saw it. So the other version is Dope Sick.
oh, and I
Did you
watched
watch it? Michael Keaton.
The Pharmacist, that one too.
You gotta watch. My wife loves that. The first one you mentioned.
Yeah. Yeah, I just watched that one like just like last weekend. I finally finished watching it and it was out. It
My
was
wife's
really
like,
well
"You have
done.
to watch this. You have to watch it." And I was like, "I saw the Michael Keaton one, and I love Michael Keaton.
I know. I love Matthew Broderick's great. Um
I can't not be loyal to Michael Keaton." Like,
yeah,
no,
I hear
Mark,
you.
you can watch both. You can
But
watch both.
I mean, yeah, but that's neither here nor there. But yeah, we should, and this is like, it's like, but then do people like this? Is this the reason the system is they'll be like, well, we got these people coming in. We don't even know if they're really sick. We can't give everybody free health care. These people think this might involve going to different doctors or hospitals to keep their
Yeah, but those
facade going.
people,
They will
but
go to
those
extreme
people are
lengths.
in. They're in Sweden and France and
Sure.
Canada.
I know. I hear you. I agree. I agree with we should have universal health care before other countries' problems are being taken care of. Is my
Yeah,
personal. I don't like to get political. That's me, my
yeah.
personal as a
No, that's just being a
someone
human.
with a chronic illness, someone with a chronic illness. It's like, thousands of dollars if we can't afford our medicine. Um, and need that medicine to live. Luckily, the government, it's like they think they're taking care of me by giving me Medicaid, which I'm very grateful for, but I also can only make the most bare bones amount of money allowed. Or I have to take a job that's a lot more stress. Pressure will kill my kidney so much faster and work 90 million
Yeah,
hours a week to make
but
more.
that's yeah, and I mean, even on a simpler thought than that, it's like the forget about the stress.
Yeah.
You get put in the level up, you're screwed
Yeah.
because now you're going to be spending the little bit of money you're making. You're going to have to spend a lot of that to pay the bill, so you'll be poorer.
In the long run.
Forget about even yeah, forget about the health. It just doesn't even make sense.
No,
And
it
then
doesn't.
people are going. Some people don't even want to work harder, and it's like yeah, because there's no incentive.
No,
You'll be poorer.
I literally had to tell my job recently because they wanted me to do like from 20 hours to 30 hours. I like the 20 hours because it gives me plenty of time to do comedy stuff and they're flexible, whatever. So for me to go to 30 hours is like, that's taking up more of my time. And that extra 10 hours, whatever a week is not, I'm then going to have to go get regular insurance and pay a couple $100 a month for insurance and then pay copays and all.
You'll have less money in your pocket for working harder.
Like I might make maybe $100 more a month at the end of the day for working more, 40 more hours a month.
Yeah.
It's like doesn't the math
But
doesn't
then
math.
it takes it takes a toll on you, which will
Ex-
make you spend more money
yeah,
because you'll be going, I should maybe need to start taking these vitamins, or I need to start doing this
yeah,
because so
or
you end
like
up spending it as faster than it can come in.
exactly. It's the scam. So oh look, Munchausen syndrome is no longer used by healthcare professionals, so it's this factitious disorder now.
Ah,
Um,
they call them mountain.
yeah, so because I guess the Munchausen is when you do it to other people when you make them think that they're ill or whatever and make them like tell your kid to tell lies. Did you ever watch that
That's
one, that documentary? And then the show?
no.
Oh, that's a really good one. There's a show and a documentary. I can't think of what the name of it is. I'll look it up. Um, that
Sounds
the
like something an evil mother would do to a
It's what it is.
child.
It's about
I
this
don't read.
mom. It's about a mom, and then she does it to her little girl when she's little, and then somebody eventually figures it out, and then the little girl and her boyfriend kill the mom.
Oh,
Yeah,
twist I didn't think was coming.
it's just really good. I'll look up those names for you. If we don't get it on air, I'll get it for you.
Send
JD,
it
can you
to me.
get
I
that for
will.
me? No. Um,
We got a lot of homework to do after this episode.
yeah. Um, let's see
The
here. It's Mommy Dead and Dearest is the thing. Is
whoa,
the one? Yes, Mommy Dead and Dearest. And then there's something on Gypsy Rose is the little girl's name. But anyway, we're gonna go back here
uh,
to our that is one of those most interesting. But you can convince people of a lot of stuff if they're weak minded, and if
yeah.
you're their trusted caregiver as the mom, you're in this position to teach. I think it's like crazy that sometimes people believe every single thing their parents taught them.
Well, when you're a certain age, it's the only thing you know.
Sure, but once you get to
Like,
adulthood, and if you're still doing exactly what everything that they
yeah,
said, it's like I'm not judging anybody. I didn't have a close relationship with my parents, so I had to break out of that mindset very early. I had to kind of figure
yeah.
shit out on my own. So, thought insertion. I think I have this. A person suffering from thought insertion will believe that their own thoughts are not their own and coming from another person. This could be a symptom of schizophrenia.
Well,
Um,
how? What do you mean? So,
like I
by
have,
another,
okay, I have
do
psychic
you think it's
abilities.
influenced, or do you think somebody's going say this?
No, no, no. Like, all right, I'm going to explain to you what some people will say is probably a lot of people who don't believe in spiritual stuff and connections through energy and things that are like beyond our 3D realm here, they will say,
Yeah,
I have schizophrenia. They will tell me, especially because, oh, I have somebody in my family who has it, that I will, if I channel, what is called channeling is I meditate and I sit and I put totally quiet, no sounds, no interruptions, and just hone into the frequency of like, usually there's a radio station that plays in my brain and I'll get songs through it. Like they'll just pop in my head. But um, if I stop and I think hard enough, and if I try to focus on someone, I can do it. Or if I just quietly listen, I will hear what is pieces of people I know's voices saying words as if they're in a conversation somewhere, like remote viewing
and you can kind of
almost.
hear them.
And I can hear their voice in the tone of their voice as if and like sometimes they'll just be talking about something I know about, like you know what I mean? And I'm like, but I'm tuned
We're gonna
in.
rename your head the FBI van.
Yeah, well, when I do tarot readings, I've done tarot readings for a long, long time. And when I do those, I watch people online who do them and they say the same thing I say, like, "Oh, I just heard." Like I'll hear a word or a phrase and it's not always my own voice in my head. I know what my voice in my head sounds like. But I
Yeah,
don't think they don't tell me what to do. It's just like observing, so I could understand if
yeah,
this delusion that is sometimes a symptom of schizophrenia is that your thoughts are not like you don't know why you think like someone who maybe does something like violent or
you're like in tune with them.
Yeah. So this one is they just don't they think they're coming from another person, and maybe they have something that doctors don't always believe in because you can't prove it. It's just in someone's head.
Yeah.
But I've had other experiences with people hearing my thoughts quite a few times throughout my life. And I know someone else who has heard their mother's thoughts. And so that's not impossible that this thought insertion, a doctor, a medical like therapist, professional psychologist would be like, oh, that's not a real thing. This person thinks that their thoughts are not their own.
They're
Now,
hearing.
they could be illusion or it could be tuned into what I say the radio station of the collective unconscious, where we all broadcast our thoughts on all day long.
Yeah.
We all
It's
broadcast our
like a
thoughts.
uh, what's the right vocal reflection.
Mm-hmm.
Like you're hearing a reflection from somebody else.
Because they're thinking their thoughts in their heads or they're saying it somewhere in the universe and it's like
So
leaving their
got to
mouth.
go somewhere.
And the time and space is not govern everything like we think it does in earth realm. Time and space can't stop someone's thought being so powerful that it reaches you in an instant because it's vibrations of energy and sound waves that their
That's
body
very cool.
produced. So I could
I as a kid I believed you could see sound,
you can.
and I was like, I would talk nonsense to my teachers
Yeah.
in grade school that I could see sound. That like when people talked, they had a glow about them, or
Okay.
music had a certain color pattern that I really liked. And then I got a little older, and they had those things that were like cool with radios where you'd see the sound waves and they'd put it to music, and it was always on like computers, like saving
Oh
screens.
yeah, I loved those.
And when those started happening, I was like, I wasn't a liar. Like it's right here.
It's
It's
real.
right here.
Yeah. I've talked about this on another episode. The sand on like the plate that you can play different sound waves at, and the sand goes into different
Changes.
forms. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a big thing.
Totally.
We got a few more of these left here, and then we're gonna end this out. I think we had a good time here so
Yeah.
far. We got Paris syndrome, a particular syndrome that affects mostly Japanese tourists. Paris syndrome is where
Random.
someone visits the city and is extremely disappointed in what they find.
Wow.
Symptoms include anxiety, hallucinations, and even feelings of persecution.
Wow. This was one this was one scientist's way of covering his tracks for being really rude to some Japanese guy. Like he wrote up
He
this whole
did a
thing.
whole
Oh,
journal article. He did a whole article in the New England Journal of Medicine about this. This was his thesis. Was because
yeah.
one time he yelled at a whole bus full of tourists somewhere in
Yeah,
Disney
he's
or
like,
something.
yeah, oh, that's a syndrome. These poor people
Yes, they're
suffered from
out of their mind, but I feel so bad for them. All
this.
right, here's another good one. Fragoli delusion, similar to
This sounds like
Capgras
a good
delusion.
dish at an Italian
I know I'm
restaurant.
hungry. As soon as I read Fragoli, it's a belief that a stranger is posing as someone they know and love. It's similar to that other one where they forget the friend. This one is you are a stranger. That's so
That's
weird.
But wouldn't
Um,
they immediately, as soon as they knew your name, you'd be like, "Oh, I guess you do know me."
they no, but it's a stranger, and they believe a stranger is a friend or family member. So capgras
Oh,
is when you think your friend is like it's not your friend. You don't know them anymore. This is, oh, that
that's,
stranger over there is my brother. I need to go talk to them or whatever. Like, and you're like, it's not. I'm just a guy at a bar.
I've met a lot of the people who had that.
That's weird. They think these strangers are wearing sophisticated disguises to mislead them.
Oh,
That's
that
such a
part.
weird one to have because like you just go up to someone and you're like, "Hello, I haven't seen you," and they're like, "I don't have any idea." You're like, "What? Am I in Vanilla Sky right now? What is this?" Like,
I've had where like people come over to me and start talking to me,
yeah.
and I'm like, I don't know you, and they would like start like, "Oh, I thought you were my cousin."
Oh, that's so weird. Yeah.
Like,
Oh,
but it never went further than that's screwed up. Hey, let me get you a
eh,
drink. All right, see you
it's just
later.
yeah, that's it. That's
It's
so weird. Othello syndrome. not reciting the Shakespeare play over and over again, but a case of extreme jealousy as the title character suffered from. Afflicted people have very obsessive and all pervading thoughts that their partner is cheating and will stalk, check up on, and tear. Oh, I have that. I have that 100,000%.
Yeah. Are
Yeah.
you are
That's why I
you
don't have a boyfriend.
jealous?
All men lie, Mark. I'm
I
sorry.
see. I'm like the opposite, and I think I've actually had relationships ruined because I wouldn't get jealous.
And that
'Cause I'm
scares
like,
women. It scares women. Like, why don't you? Like, it
I
makes women feel so weird for some reason. I can't explain it, but I know so many women that have said, "Well, I like when they're a little bit jealous because it makes me think they care." And
yeah.
it's
And my
like
thing is like I don't want. I'm not gonna. You
it.
wanna. If you want to cheat on me, why are we together? Go.
It's that's how I feel. That's exactly how I feel. If you want to be with other people, just go.
Yeah, just go do it. Like
Yeah, don't.
I will continue.
Yeah, yeah,
I've,
yeah,
whatever. So it's like that's
yeah.
why I made Angie my wife. Like
Yeah.
we get along because we
You
don't
don't get
get
jealous of each
jealous of
other.
each
Yeah.
other. We both have our own lives of like, our work lives, and we try to include each other into it. But it's like, hey, if I have to go on the road with a female comic or whatever, like,
Yeah, you have to just. Yeah, that's the
there's
hard part
nothing
about
I can
being
do
a.
about it.
That's the hardest part about being a female comic is there's so many more men, and I've had so
No,
many
yeah,
men who have been like, the girl with a ton of guy friends is always the red flag, and
yeah,
I know it, I admit it. I'm like, all I can say is I don't want to fuck them, but like it's not
yeah.
believable. I don't know. I just unfortunately people have trust issues and have been hurt, but we keep onto these things. We're gonna get mental health help. Uh People who have Ekbom syndrome think that their skin is infected with insects.
Oh,
Ooh.
that
They
sounds like
also
meth.
I've heard of I was just gonna say
Meth
that.
bomb
You
syndrome.
took the words out of my mouth. We've had some family members that have been on big into that. Also known as delusional parasitosis. Sufferers feel real itching and can scratch themselves to the point of bleeding since they believe their body has been infested with parasites, fleas, bugs. I swear my aunt had this one time. They may go to several doctors to try and get treatment with self-inflicted wounds from scratching. They'll believe like what they believe to be a sample of the insect. They call in pest control as they believe their house is infested. Yeah. It's difficult to cure because they might just believe. A lot of these are just you believing. The mind is very powerful. One of my other favorite quotes is the mind in and of itself can create a hell of heaven and a heaven of hell. And it
Wow, that's a good quote.
it really is one of my favorites. I don't remember Thomas somebody is the author's name, I think,
Thomas
but
Jefferson.
no,
Looking
he
that
was a
up.
real badass. Um no, it was I can't remember, but anyway, yeah, it's like you can make a lot of this stuff happen. So let's see what apo, please my pronunciation ap apotemnophilia.
You might have aphasia too.
Okay. Okay. I think I might. I have I probably had a traumatic brain injury somewhere along the way in my life and just never got treated for it. Um Ever wanted to cut off part of your body? No, me neither. But those with apotemophilia have a
Love that word.
pathological desire to amputate a healthy limb, such as a leg or arm. Ew. Known as
Wow.
body integrity identity disorder. Sufferers are driven to remove parts of their bodies. The desire can be so strong that some sufferers actually attempt to remove or irreparably damage their own limbs so that surgery is necessary. I've never heard of this. If a person does not receive help to overcome it, they can even amputate their own limbs. That's such a weird one. I don't even want to talk about it. It's scary.
That's wow.
It's so weird. Clinical lycanthropy. The syndrome is where a person thinks they are turning into an animal and not just a wolf. All kinds of cases have been reported from cats, birds, frogs, even bees. A bee? Really?
I would like to work in that wing of the hospital for just
Like an
just one
afternoon.
week. Where's my little kitty cat? How you doing?
And now that's theremins, or no, not theremins. Therians, or whatever they're called. Um, Alien hand syndrome. I wanted to read this one when I skimmed this article earlier. The syndrome is described when one's hand behaves as if it has its own mind and will not do what you want it to do. It moves on its own accord, grabs things, touches other people, and acts beyond the control of the person it belongs to. This is just
I
somebody that
had
wanted to
that in
touch
high school.
people. Yeah. This is just somebody that wanted to be able to touch people and not get in trouble for it, like touching
Sorry.
women and like, oh, I sorry, I have alien hand syndrome. It
My
feels as
alien hand syndrome seems to love grabbing girls' butts.
it feels as if their hand belongs to someone else and they have lost control of it. In severe cases, patients reported real battles with their hands, saying like they tried to strangle their owners in their sleep. This syndrome, like
It's like
most
a Jim
others,
Carrey thing.
yeah, it is. This syndrome, like most others, is caused by damage to the brain. You could have ended up with it. Fortunately,
Oh.
it's treatable. You're just like,
By
uh,
going to the amputation guy.
yes, get that one instead. Become friends with that guy. Um, reduplicative paramnesia.
That just is a nice way
Reduplicative,
to read.
a rare condition that is typically caused by some kind of brain damage. Here, a person believes that a specific place or location has been moved. For instance, soldiers who have suffered head injuries reported believing they were being treated in their local town when in fact they were hundreds of miles away.
Makes a
So,
lot of sense.
yeah, you would just believe you were one place. Yeah, it's
Yeah, that sounds like little red in the face, and you're all healed from that.
yeah. Um, subjective double, I guess depending on how long it goes on for, but subjective double syndrome. Sufferers believe they have a doppelganger who looks exactly like them but acts completely different. This person can be a family member or a stranger, but quite often the person suffering becomes enraged that the person has stolen their identity.
This sounds like every episode of an '80s sitcom. Like every '80s sitcom had an episode of this. Like this is the episode where we bring in the subjective double syndrome. B. Arthur thinks there's another B. Arthur out there.
Then she's like pissed. Stendhal syndrome is where an individual is completely overcome by beautiful objects or art in a very short space of time. The sufferer would have a raised heartbeat, sweaty palms, and feel dizzy and confused. Don't take this person to a museum on a first date. I don't.
Yeah. But you know what? I kind of think out of all of the things we read so far,
Yeah.
I wouldn't mind being able to take a pill to have that for like one day.
Where you're just like overcome with joy and beauty. It's so much that it
Yeah.
takes you have the you have a bit of the vapors.
Yeah. Hold on, let me take this pill. Put on the Pink Floyd album. Put it on. Get my Van Gogh book. I'll be just staying in the study tonight.
You go to that immersive experience. You're just there all day. Oh, all right. Autophagia. Oh, okay. This is a fun
I
one.
think I feel like I heard of this.
I've heard of it. Autophagia is a condition where you literally eat parts of yourself, eat
Ooh.
yourself or parts of yourself as a result of impulsive biting and chewing. And if you think that you would never do that, one man started off by chewing his fingernails and ended up eating his own fingers. As with most disorders, this one can vary from mild, very mild, to life threatening.
I
All
might
right.
have this. I eat my fingernails.
I know a lot of people that used to chew their fingernails, especially when we were younger. I did it, but like to then bite, it hurts. They have to have some other
Yeah.
kind of physical condition where they can't feel pain. Like what? Who is
Yeah.
diagnosing this as just you can just be that mental in your head, that delusional? I guess maybe you
I
can.
guess so, but
The
I
mind is a
mean,
very powerful tool.
sometimes I go even too far on my fingernails and I'm bothered for
Oh,
weeks.
I mean, I was getting them done for a long time, so I don't bite them anymore. I file them so they're nice and like sharp because I have this thing now where I hate when I see like if I'm on stage and even if they don't have polish, I don't care. This one broke, but like it's if it's not round and I see like a picture of my hand on the microphone, I get like super like judgy about myself about it. So I don't like to bite them. For a dude, nobody's looking at a dude's hands, but like
I
people
was gonna
always
say this goes back to what we talked about earlier.
being a
It's
woman
a
comic,
little,
you have to think
little
about
harder
stupid
for
shit
me.
like that. Yeah.
Yeah, I go on stage in jeans and a hoodie and chewed up fingernails. Nobody thinks
Yeah.
twice.
No, they never would. And I have hours of just that. Just stuff about those kind of things that no men have to think about besides being outnumbered. Um Most people just want to like try to have a I'm putting this on record now. I hate when men try to hit on me, but not put me on their shows. I don't like the guys that try to keep it professional. Hit on me all you
Hey,
want and then put me on your show.
you're hot enough for me to hit on, but not hot enough for me to put you on my show.
It's like
Like,
such an insult.
there's only one way you're hitting this stage, and it's not your comedy ability.
Yeah.
There was so when I first started, and I was like a door guy,
Yeah.
and I was like just I was brand new, and I'd hop around, and I was always one of the gang because I hung out with a lot of A-list comics, even though I was like 1 week in.
Yeah.
I hung out because I was everybody liked me. I was the door guy, And we went to a lot of clubs where people complain now about the sexual harassment that goes on. It was horrible 20 years ago. Like it wasn't even innuendo. Like
I'm sure it was
like
outright. Yeah, I can
it was
only imagine.
awful. I
Yeah.
mean, I used to get uncomfortable when I was a teenager.
Yeah.
Like usually teenagers hear sexual stuff, they perk up. I was like, I'm uncomfortable. This is just
Yeah. It's a lot. I don't want to like end on a creepy note with anybody. I've never taken offense to anyone that has tried to say, if we hooked up, I would give you this spot or whatever, but I'd prefer to be chosen for my talent. Maybe that's why I'm not ahead. um
yeah.
but you are
Hey,
someone who booked me for on my talent. That was one of the first shows I had ever done, and then you put me on my first show in New York within a 6 month
yeah.
period. I was like, okay. So thank you so much for coming on and doing this.
Thanks for having me on. This was so much fun. We
Yeah,
gotta do it again because we didn't even talk about my documentary I worked on.
I know you'd have a whole other story here. So yeah, this is already, I think this is 2 hours long. So
Oh,
my
we
fans
did.
will thank you and we'll bring you back. Think about more weird snacks for me. Okay.
We got tons of
We're going to
snacks.
do the Patreon where we eat them.
Yeah.
All
I'll
right.
pay you.
All right. Take
Yes,
it
we're
easy.
gonna make them and eat them.
All
Bye.
right. Well, I'm going to see you offline. All right.
Yep.
Later.